Well, with that, then, we'll call the annual town meeting for 2026 to order. Constable, how many voters do we have present? 278 is more than a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for an opening prayer from the Reverend Patricia Berry of the First Congregational Church. Reverend Berry.
Good evening. Mike asked me to come, and it was good to have the invitation to help with some centering and some good vibrations. I know tonight's a big night, and there's some good and big decisions to be made. So I hope the prayer helps root us in kindness and love. Will you join me in a posture of prayer? Spirit of life and love, God of many names and no name, divine spirit which resides in all, we gather this evening as a community dedicated and committed to serve our town and our neighbors. We thank you for the diversity of thoughts and perspectives in this room, which mirror the richness in creation. We ask for guidance on all who have gathered here tonight. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and no name, divine spirit which resides in all, grant us the wisdom to make decisions that honor and serve this community. Provide us with patience. May we turn to curiosity rather than judgment. May we seek understanding rather than callousness. May we place service above self, foregoing self-interests and egos. Soften our hearts and widen our gaze. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and no name, divine spirit which resides in all of us, bless us with open minds and open hearts. Promote listening and speaking carefully. Bless us with open minds and open hearts, promoting listening with empathy and speaking with truth. May our conversation be fruitful and our actions reflect our values, rooted in kindness and justice. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and no name, divine spirit which resides in all. May this meeting move us towards progress and peace, towards positive impact on our future, towards the betterment of our community, towards a place of mutual flourishing. We call upon the living spirit in each of us to make it so. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the following deceased town employees: Margaret Turnbull McCarthy of the School District, Janet Thayer of the School District, Kenneth Wayne Harris, Department of Public Works, Mary Ellen McDonald, the Finance Committee, Faith Ann Jean, School District, Eileen Glenn, Assistant Treasurer, School District, Robert Wurzberger, Whitman Public Library, Pamela Martin, Whitman Town Clerk, Municipal Hearings Officer, Burial Agent, Insurance Advisory Committee, Technology Study Committee, Bylaw Study Committee, Stephen Verrill Sr., Board of Assessors, William H. Damon of the Fire Department, William Stafford, Capital Improvement Advisory Committee, Ralph Mitchell, Finance Committee, Ernest Morgan, School District, Sandra Palazza, Board of Assessors, Ann Meserve of the School District, Dorothy Conlon of the School District, Elizabeth Kelly, School District, William Kaposi, the Finance Committee, Dorothy Cushman, School District, Dolores Hines Hill of the School District, and George Smith, Department of Public Works. Thank you. You may be seated. Would the tellers please come forward to be sworn? Right. And would the clerk please read the warrant?
Good evening. To either the constable of the town of Whitman, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Whitman qualified to vote in elections and town affairs and to meet in the town hall in said Whitman on Monday, the 4th day of May, 2026 at 6:30 p.m., then and there to act upon the following articles. Excuse me, I'm catching my throat. Articles 1 through 36. And you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting up attested copies thereof in not less than 8 public places in town, 7 days at least before the day of said meeting, hereof fail not, and make due return of the warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of holding of said meeting, given under our hands the 7th day of April, 2026, signed by Select Board Dr. Carl F. Kowalski, Chairman, Daniel L. Salvucci, Vice Chair, Justin R. Evans, Clerk, Sean M. Kane, Member, and Laura L. Howe, Member. Warrant attestation. I hereby certify that by virtue of within warrant, I have posted 8 copies of said warrant in various sections in town, with 2 copies in each precinct, signed by William Sharnick. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So some procedures and rules that we're going to be using tonight. All voters must be sitting in the designated areas. All votes will be taken initially by voice vote. If I cannot determine the result or if the vote is immediately questioned by 5 voters, an electronic vote will be taken with the new handsets. When we get to the budget, Article 2, budget worksheet pages with detailed breakdowns of each department budget are available at the back, but we will be voting on the consolidated budget that appears in the warrant. Those are the numbers we'll be voting on. I will ask if there's, as we go through the budget in detail, I will ask if there are questions on budget line items in 10-line increments. If anyone has a question on a particular line item, please shout out question and the number of the line. After we go through all of Article 2, I will reread all the question line items. All line items not questioned will then be voted on as the Finance Committee recommends. We will then have discussion and votes on each of the question line items. Massachusetts General Laws, Articles 1, 2, 3 of the town bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order govern the running of this town meeting. All amendments must be in writing, must be legible, and must be signed. Speaking procedures. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Be obvious. It's a big room. After being recognized, please stand and go to the nearest microphone. There's one in the center here. There's one up in the balcony. There's one here at the podium. State your name and your address. You address your comments to me, not to another individual in the room and not to the room itself. I will attempt to recognize someone who can answer your question. Please confine your comments to the article or question on the floor. You may not speak on the same question more than once until everyone who has not been heard has had a chance to speak. Thank you for attending. This is important business essential to the function of our town. My goal here is to complete all business tonight, and I ask that you remain for the duration of the meeting. In the event that we cannot finish tonight, I ask that you return tomorrow night. I want to thank the Finance Committee, ladies and gentlemen sitting at this table in front of me here. They have put in many hours working with the town administrator, the select board, department heads, and others to study each of the articles that pertain to finances and give their thoughtful and considered opinions on each and recommendations on each to this meeting. The committee's recommendations on each applicable article are found in the warrant. These are all volunteers who perform an essential service to the town. Please join me in thanking them for their service. If you are interested in serving on the Finance Committee, you may contact me through the Select Board's office or the Town Clerk's office. And now, Mary Beth Carter, our Town Administrator, would like to say a few words.
Mary Beth Carter, Town Administrator, 896 Auburn Street. Welcome and thank you for attending tonight's 2027 Annual Town Meeting. This fiscal year 2026, has proven to be both a very eventful and financially challenging year. It is my hope that this evening we can all work together to move through each article on the warrant respectfully while we listen to and carefully consider all opinions to reach the end goal this evening, which is to vote and approve a balanced fiscal year 2027 budget. The Finance Committee has worked tirelessly to review all warrant articles and line items in Article 2 for the past several months. I appreciate all of their hard work and the thoughtful questions they have asked throughout the budget process. I have worked closely with Kathleen Otina and often met with her weekly during the past several months. FinCom's recommendations on the various warrant articles and budget line items in Article 2 carry a lot of weight for voters this evening. I want to thank the town department heads for working with me during this budget cycle while I put together a balanced budget for fiscal year 2027. I know that the reductions that were made to each of the departments were less than ideal. However, I appreciate the department heads' understanding and willingness to make the budgets work in this financial environment. I'd like to give a special thanks to the newest members of the finance team, Treasurer-Collector Deborah O'Brien, Accountant Jennifer Argenti, and Assessor Jacqueline Malahy. The addition of these three ladies to the finance team has been tremendous. In just a short time, I have already seen what a great impact they have had and will continue to have on the future success of the town. I admire and appreciate both their work ethics and the individual skill sets they bring to their roles. The accountant, Jen, has been a great resource regarding the overall budget, especially her work on forecasting the estimated local receipts, the work she's done on the revenue sources, and the time she has put into reviewing and verifying the budget documents. She's a true asset to our town. The treasurer-collector, Deb, was instrumental in facilitating the borrowing for the new Whitman Middle School building project, which took place a couple of months ago. In March, the town issued a $30 million long-term bond to pay off the $30 million ban, which is a short-term note the district had borrowed for the building project last year. The town also borrowed an additional $31 million in bans to fund the ongoing costs of the project for next year. A $61 million borrowing is considered a very large undertaking for any treasurer, never mind for a new treasurer. Deb was up for the challenge, and she did an excellent job throughout the entire process. Taking over the financing on this project has saved the taxpayers of Whitman a significant amount of interest costs just this year alone. It has also allowed the project to move forward and remain on track. In fiscal 26, the interest due on the $30 million 10-month ban the district had borrowed was $1,230,350. In fiscal 27, the interest due that will be coming due on the $31 million 12-month ban the town issued is $770,350. So it's $1 million more, 2 months longer, and almost $500,000 less. This substantial savings is due to the town's stable bond rating, the multiple bids we received, and the forced premium the town received on the day of the offering. This reinforces my opinion that using the town's reserves, such as the General Stabilization Fund, is always a bad idea, as it will undoubtedly put negative pressure on our future bond ratings. The town will continue to borrow for the Whitman Middle School project for the next few years. A strong, stable bond rating will allow the town to obtain better rates than would otherwise be realized when borrowing for a project. The town is in excellent hands having Deb O'Brien as the treasurer-collector. The town's new assessor, Jackie, has been wonderful to work with the past few months. I met with Jackie on her first day to discuss the department and to share my thoughts regarding the need to capture all possible new growth moving forward. When I say Jackie hit the ground running, I'm not kidding. She is very knowledgeable in her field. She's extremely proactive and forward-thinking and has already done a lot of work looking to capture all new growth. The town is very fortunate to have such a dedicated and knowledgeable finance team to bring the town forward into the future. And now, if I may, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to acknowledge and thank a few longtime employees, member/board member for their years of service in the town, as they have all recently announced their upcoming retirements. First, Fire Chief Tim Clancy has announced his retirement effective July 10th. Chief Clancy has worked for the town for the past 35 years and has risen through the ranks since he began at age 18. He has served as the fire chief for the past 5 years, and he also played an integral role in navigating the town through the unprecedented COVID pandemic. Thank you, Chief, for protecting the citizens of Whitman and for serving the town for all these years. Next, I'd like to thank the Assistant Town Administrator, Kathy Keefe, for her 20 years of service in the town, as she will be retiring on June 30th. Kathy served as the town's principal assessor for 17 years before she transitioned to the role of Assistant Town Administrator in 2023. She has brought in over $400,000 in grant awards in the past 3 years, which has more than paid for her salary since she assumed the role of ATA. It has been a joy working with Kathy. Her energy, work ethic, positive attitude, and willingness to take on any project that came her way is what I admire most about her. Thank you, Kathy. And last, but certainly not least, I would like to recognize and thank the Town Select Board Chair, Dr. Carl Kowalski, for his outstanding contribution to the town of Whitman. Carl's current term as a Select Board member ends later this month. Carl served as a Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee member in various capacities from 1984 to 1998. He then served on the Select Board beginning in 2002, right up through today, through 2026, most of these years as the Select Board Chair. As I have stated before, in my 23 years as a town employee, I have never known a Select Board that didn't include Carl as a member. His 40-plus year commitment to his role as a Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee member and Select Board member is very impressive and to be admired. He has been a true leader and role model for our town. Thank you, Carl. I truly wish all three of these soon-to-be retirees the best in the next chapter of their lives. And before we begin tonight's meeting, I believe Dr. Kowalski would like to say a few words. Thank you.
Well, we'll start back in 1984, and I'd like to go through all of those years and all of the people. No, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to serve for those years. It's been my pleasure. And I'd just like to acknowledge a couple of people. There was a brief shining moment back in 1984 when my sister Peggy, sitting over here, was the chair of the school committee in Whitman. And my son Craig was a school committee member. And that was when I was a baby Select Board member. And I just remember that time with really warm feelings. I wanted to acknowledge that. That was at the time when the new high school was starting to be built. I'd also like to remember a cousin of mine by the name of Chris George, who has been a fierce person who was devoted to the schools. He was in charge of the SOS to Save Our Schools override project. Didn't quite make it, but boy, he was a tiger. And I would just like to acknowledge Chris for the work that he did at that time. It's been a long journey. I enjoyed it. What I've enjoyed most recently, however, is the way that the Finance Committee and the Select Board have come together. And when I see the work that Kathy Otina and Mary Beth Carter do working on the budget over the last couple of years together to come up with the best that they can do to keep our taxes low, but our services as high as you would like them to have, it's been remarkable. It's been amazing to see. It reminds me of the team of Bill Capozzi and Frank Lynham from years past. It was very easy to be a select board chair when you knew that you could trust that there were these people who worked so hard every single second that they were in the town hall, and even when they weren't in the town hall, on matters that mattered to you, and it made things as easy as they could be for you as citizens. And it's been a real pleasure. And that's about all I have to say. I'd like to say thank you once again.
And now I'd like to recognize Michael Warner from the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Members of the Select Board, department heads, residents of Whitman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, thank you for the opportunity to come here and for our community to serve in this role. This year was challenging. Whitman faced a budget shortfall of approximately $500,000 on a total spending budget of approximately $57 million. Now, this is not a one-time issue. It's a long-term growing issue for us. Prior to COVID, the town was experiencing approximately a 1.3% year growth in costs. That worked. It was a slow, steady growth. COVID, as we all know, shifted dramatically the costs. Since COVID, we're seeing a growth rate across all departments, all services, of approximately 7% in the town. That's more than 5 times what our long-term trend was. It's an unsubstantiatable amount of increase. Places we've seen this the most and we hear about the most include schools. The school assessments rise between 6 to 10% per year. Health insurance, 7 to 10% per year. Retirement assessments are 7 to 12%. Utility inflation, we all know, and if you've gone to fill up your gas tank, you know really right now, that's 8 to 15%. And then general operating pressures, hiring people, maintaining people, keeping people. Unfortunately, at the same time, we as Whitman residents are not seeing that 7% increase in our income. Even if we're generous and say it's approximately 3%, that means that our budget is growing at more than twice the income that we ourselves are able to manage. The widening gap here is a structural deficit. It's not a one-year problem, it's an ongoing problem. The Finance Committee has spent a lot of time this year, 30 meetings, ranging anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, not including the time that we spend with the various department heads, etc. We love to do this because we love this town. We take this job responsibly. But we have to ask a question of ourselves. What do we want the town of Whitman to be? We have to define some priorities. What are the priorities that we as a town want to see? Is this public safety, schools, are they where we want them to be? Are they growing at the rate that will provide for us the services? The other services that we don't talk a lot about, our IT departments, our libraries, and the many groups of people that are involved in just keeping the town running, putting the snowplows out in the street. This year it was a challenge. All those things, where is our priority? Second, we have to balance our short-term operating pressures with long-term capital needs. Our water and sewer lines are, in some places, greater than 35 years old. We can no longer get parts. We have some emergency vehicles that are greater than 20 years old. We're spending more on maintenance than to replace those vehicles. These issues are not going to fix themselves. We have delayed making some of these changes for the short-term benefits that we want. But again, what's our priority? Where do we need to make those changes? And last but not least, we as all members here in the town have to build trust. Those of us who work in the finance side of the town and advise our select board and other members of the town employees, our job is to really look at this and be transparent. Where are we spending the money? How are we spending it? Do we treat the money as if it was our own? That's what this committee does. We look at it, we spend the money, or we approve a recommendation to spend the money where it will make the most difference for us as a town. And with that, the Finance Committee continues to be committed to working with the Select Board, the department heads, the residents, the charter responsible, chart the course forward. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will begin with Article 1, to see if the town will bring in their vote for the following town officers: 1 town moderator for 3 years, 1 treasurer collector for 3 years, 2 select board members for 3 years, 1 assessor for 3 years, 2 PK-12 Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Committee members for 3 years, 2 Department of Public Works commissioners for 3 years, 2 Public Libraries trustees for 3 years, 1 Whitman Housing Authority member for 5 years, 3 planning board members for 5 years, 1 Board of Health member for 3 years, and to choose all other necessary officers. The polls for the election of officers will be open in said town hall at 9 o'clock in the forenoon on said Saturday, the 16th day of May, 2026, and kept open until 5 o'clock in the evening, both of which days will constitute the annual meeting, and this call is issued in accordance with the vote of the town passed on January 29, 1902. Do I have a motion? Second? Discussion? All right, all in favor of Article 1, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 1 is adopted unanimously. Article P3, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $760.63 from free cash to pay a prior fiscal year FY 2025 bill to Nexamp for the police department, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion is second. Discussion of Article P3. Ms. Landeville.
Question before we start this meeting. Can anyone tell me after this budget, what is in free cash?
We're focused on Article P3 right now. Okay, so if we have, time will come to talk about the budget, that will come later. But right now we're focusing on Article P3. Any discussion of Article P3? Okay, this does require a 4/5 majority vote in order to pass. If I can't tell, if it's not unanimous, we'll do with the clickers. All in favor of Article P3, say yes. Opposed, no. Article P3 is adopted unanimously. Article P4, to see if the town will vote to appropriate in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, $55,316.73 from the Reserve for Appropriation Cable Access account, consisting of cable television franchise fees and related payments received by the town from Comcast exclusive for PEG access and community media purposes pursuant to the town's cable television license, to be released to the Whitman-Hanson Community Access for such purposes, said funds being restricted for the community media operating use and being held by the town as a pass-through prior to release, or take any other action relative thereto. Discussion of Article P4. All right, all in favor of P4, say yes. Opposed, no. Article P4 is adopted unanimously. Article P5, to see if the town will vote to appropriate in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, $28,000 from the Reserve for Appropriation Cable Access account, consisting of cable television franchise fees and related payments received by the town from Comcast exclusively for PEG access and community media purposes pursuant to the town's cable television license, to be released to the Whitman-Hanson Community Access for such purposes, said funds being restricted for community media capital use and being held by the town as a pass-through prior to release, or take any other action relative thereto. Discussion of P5. All right, all in favor of P5, say yes. Opposed, no. Article P5 is adopted unanimously. Okay, Article 2, to determine how much money the town will raise and appropriate for general government, protection of persons and property, health and sanitation, public works, veterans benefits, education, library, recreation, and unclassified, specifying what appropriation shall be taken from the receipt of a department or take any other action relative thereto. And I have two motions that we'll vote on here in conjunction with that. Motion 1, subject general fund operating budget. Move that the town appropriate the sum of $51,018,720 as the general fund operating budget of the town as follows, in lines numbered 1 to 22 and lines numbered 24 to 35, for the purposes and in the amounts specified as follows, and to meet said appropriation, raise and appropriate the sum of $49,506,329, and to transfer the sum of $1,512,391, for which $580 shall come from the Wetlands Protection Fund to fund line number 11. $729 shall come from the Title V Betterment Fund to fund line number 33. $140,000 shall come from free cash to fund line number 34. $388,000 shall come from the OPEB Liability Trust Fund to fund medical life insurance town match, line number 35. $294,528 shall come from free cash to fund Plymouth County Retirement, line number 35. $688,554 shall come from Water Sewer Enterprise Fund revenue, line number 23, $1,512,391. $51,018,720 total general fund less water and sewer. $1,512,391 transfers. $49,506,329 raised and appropriate to be expended under the direction of the Select Board. Do we have a motion? Second? Okay, discussion of Article 2, Motion 1? All right. All in favor of Article 2, Motion 1, say yes. Opposed, no. Okay, Article 2, Motion 1 is passed unanimously. Article 2, Motion 2, Water Sewer Enterprise Fund. Move to appropriate the sum of $5,137,506 from Water Sewer Enterprise Fund revenue for the purposes and for the amount specified in line number 23, Water Sewer Enterprise Fund, and further that $688,554 be raised from Water Sewer Enterprise Fund revenue to fund indirect costs associated with the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund appropriated in the general fund as identified in Article 2, Motion 1, to be expended under the direction of the Board of Public Works Commissioners. $5,826,060 Water Sewer Enterprise Fund salaries and expenses. $688,554 Water Sewer indirect costs appropriated in general fund. $5,137,506. We have a motion. Discussion of Motion 2. All right, all in favor of Motion 2, say yes. Opposed, no. Motion 2 is adopted unanimously. Okay. Now we will move into the budget line items. Again, I'll call these out in 10-line increments, and if you have a question on any particular line item, just shout question and the number of the line item. Okay, line items 1 through 10. Any questions on 1 through 10? Okay, nothing heard. 11 through 20. Any questions on 11 through 20? Okay. 21 through 30. 21. Okay. And 31 through 35. So right now, the only line item that's being questioned is number 21. Are there any others? All right, then at this point, then we will move forward with the vote on the remaining budget. So we're voting the Finance Committee recommendations of all the line items in the budget except for 21, which we will return to in a moment. Right? So all in favor of Article 2, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 2 was adopted unanimously with that exception. Who had the question on 21? Sir.
Mr. Moderator, Ryan Trussell, 210 Temple Street. I'm also the chairman of the Whitman Hanson Regional School Committee. I have a motion to amend Article 2, line 21, specifically the non-mandated busing assessment line. We are changing the current figure from $235,439.96 to $202,347.38. I'll say that again, I apologize. $202,347.38.
Okay, so then we have a motion then to amend Article 2, line item 21 from $235,439.96 to read $202,347.38. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, discussion. Do we have discussion on the amendment? Mr. Galvin.
John Galvin, 41 High Street. The amendment, currently the budget line item there is 0 in the Finance Committee column. So the motion to change it needs to go from 0 to whatever number they want, and must also include funding sources to make that happen. So I think that motion could be ruled out of order.
You might be
because it
correct
is
on that,
incorrect.
yeah. You might be correct on that, yeah. I believe so. So we have let me check.
Fumble. Yeah.
All right, I'm told that that is out of order since there is no funding source. It would throw the whole budget out of balance. Sir.
Yeah, I just want to know exactly in plain terms what we're talking about here. What does this mean, in effect?
Perhaps the amendment is it's gone. We're still dealing with the 0 number here that we're dealing with the Finance Committee.
Right, again, but if we're voting now on this line item, I really want to know what it means, a yes or a no, what it means in plain terms that we can all understand.
So with the, Ryan Trussell again, Chair of the School Committee, with the 0 line on that budget, it means that students who live 1.5 miles or less from the school will no longer have busing. They will have to get either walk to school or they would need to get rides to school from their parents. We have no mechanism outside of this, our assessment that we sent to the towns to fund that busing. So we are asking that, I think that obviously we elect select board members. The Finance Committee is appointed by the moderator, and they are here to make recommendations to the body, which is the appropriating body of the town, which is the citizens here that are here tonight. And I think that there are people that might want to discuss the idea that the town has decided, these individuals have decided that children do not need busing to school, and that they have, that this is, we as a school committee sent a budget to the town. The request number was 5%. We gave a number that is under 5%. It is 4.85 for operational. With this amendment of moving it to $202,347.38, it is actually a decrease from last year's nominated busing items. So I guess the ask from the school committee is to let the citizens have a decision of whether or not they want their children to be bused to school. So I will yield the floor for those questions.
Mr. Kane?
Hi, Sean Kane, 31 Forest Street. I'm also a member of the Select Board. I think there are actually three critical points pertaining to the school budget that need to be considered before tonight's vote. But first, I would like to thank the school committee for this service to our community. They have been through, they've been through a difficult year and have done a mountain's worth of work to get it back on track. We may disagree about some of the budgetary issues that we'll talk about tonight, but you certainly have earned my respect, so thank you. The first point of contention is connected to Mr. Tressel's claim, and he's claimed this repeatedly, that we gave them a 5% target at the beginning of this process, back in January. So from his perspective, if I understand correctly, the assessment they are presenting tonight is actually under budget. This is a critical mistake, a critical misunderstanding. At the beginning of the budget process, we used basic assumptions: 5% to the school district, 2.5% to town departments, and sparse expenses. And we do that simply to calculate the deficit. And at that time, we had a significant deficit back in January, more than $500,000, meaning if the budget wasn't balanced at 5%, then how could we possibly keep it there without an override? From my perspective, then, it is unrealistic to assume that the full 5% was the amount that could be fully afforded without an override. In addition, when we opted away from the library, we decided to share the financial burden among all departments. Since then, there's been another round of reductions on the town side of the budget. Expecting the school department to do the same seems logical. And to figure out what we can afford without an override, and to determine how to proportion the money between the town departments and the school district, we have been using a revenue-based formula. This can be helpful because it gives us an approximate gauge. 60% of our new revenue is allocated to the school department, and 40% is given to town departments. We have also made a policy to fund an additional $140,000 from our meals tax directly to the school department. The result is what you see in front of you, what's recommended by the Finance Committee. I wish we had more money to distribute. All of our departments, including the schools, deserve more. But the harsh reality is that we don't have the money. For this reason, I respectfully disagree with Mr. Tressel. The 5% given to the school district at the beginning of this process was simply used to calculate the deficit. It was not a final number. And in my opinion, respectfully, our current recommendation is connected to what we can equitably afford. The second point of contention revolves around state aid. On the town side, we receive about $3.5 million in state aid. That's about 7% of our budget. And each year, it goes up by approximately 3 or 4%. So the town relies on a relatively small amount of state aid and increases at a fairly typical rate. But the school side of the budget is different. They receive over $26 million in state aid. That's 40% of their budget. And unfortunately, it generally increases by less than 1% because their student enrollment has been dropping for the last 10 years. So they rely on a large amount of state aid, and it does not keep pace with the cost of living, not even close. This is the core reason, this is at the core of the school district's financial struggle. I can't emphasize this enough. So here's the point of contention. I believe that without an override, both the town and the school district need to make reductions. But the decrease on the school side will be greater because of the lack of state aid. This is a harsh reality. There are some who will disagree with this, however. They will argue that the reductions on both sides should be equal, that if the school needs to cut more, then the town should cut more as well. I respectfully disagree. I don't think that we should lay off town employees because the school enrollment continues to drop. That is not fair. Again, the revenue formula gives us a center of gravity about how to distribute funds, not comparing our losses. And the third and final point of contention is about non-mandated busing. To be clear, I want to emphasize this point. The town is not recommending that we eliminate non-mandated busing. We are recommending that the school district include it in their operating budget, which they could have done the last couple of weeks. And if it's voted down tonight, it'll send it back to the school committee and they'll have a chance to do it again. Doing so would save the town about $59,000. I believe.
Mr. Kane has the floor.
Thank you. Doing so would save the town about $59,000. Mr. Trussell does not want to do this because he thinks we should work it out with the regional agreement. Now, that would be ideal, and typically I would agree with him, but we need to be realistic. The leadership in Hanson has refused to negotiate this for a number of years, and they're digging their heels in. But here's the thing. I strongly believe that we are on the right in this issue. The math is in our favor. Thanks to Mr. Galvin and his calculations. The harsh reality here is that we are clearly paying more than our fair share of transportation costs. Right now, we're paying more than our fair share of transportation costs. And the contractual language is also in our favor, thanks to Mrs. Otina. Her interpretation of the current regional agreement, non-mandated busing should be included in the operating budget, meaning there is no need to renegotiate the agreement to make the change. It could be done immediately. At a time when every dollar matters in our community, it would be irresponsible to pay more than our fair share. And then just to summarize, the main points. Our current budget recommendation to the school district comes from revenue formula and is connected to what we can equitably afford for all departments. It's not simply the 5% that Mr. Trussell has stated. Number two, without an override, both the town and the school district will need to make reductions, but unfortunately, the decrease on the school side will be greater because of the lack of state aid. And number three, non-mandated busing should be included in the operating budget because it is irresponsible to pay more than our fair share during this difficult time. Support the recommendations and send it back to the school committee to reconsider. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Jennifer Roback, 879 Bedford Street, Whitman. Personally, I have a child that we live on Route 18. We'll have to cross over Route 18. Will the police department be putting into their budget then crossing guards for 18, 14, 27, all of the spots that are impossible to cross? My high school student crossed Route 18 without a sign that flashes or anything else. The person stopped, the person behind him didn't. She was nearly hit. That didn't happen just one time, but 2 times. I am severely against this budget that is going against non-mandated busing. Our students deserve a safe way to get to and from school. If we then take this away, are you going to somehow increase the number of spots that the YMCA offers as after-school programming? Because right now they're full. Not one of those kids is going to get in, and every elementary school is within a mile and a half, so almost every single one of them are going to be walking. That's not safe for our kids, and I'm not okay with it. That's one. 2, you sit and you say, the schools have to take a bigger hit. Do we realize that the number of staff that have been cut in less than a year that Mr. Trussell has been on this board? We have lost almost the entire Conley school staff number. 65 teachers, staff, and other people work in that building, and that's about the number that was cut in a 1-year time frame. We have cut too much from schools. Stop cutting from our children. Enough is enough.
Ms. Otina.
Okay, Kathleen Otina, Vice Chair of the Whitman Finance Committee. I've also been on the Regional Agreement Amendment Committee for at least 5 years, and this topic of non-mandated busing or transportation in the regional agreement has been one that I have been fighting for as long as I've been on that committee. Let me make it clear, as Mr. Kane did, the Finance Committee does not want to eliminate buses for children. We want to rectify the way that financing of the buses is calculated. And people can disagree because we haven't been able to change the regional agreement. But bottom line, if you read the existing regional agreement that was written in 1992 and has not been amended in current terms of transportation, transportation is a cost that will be paid for by the school district as an operating expense. An operating expense calls for the costs to be shared by per pupil, which roughly is 60-40, 60% for Whitman and 40% for Hanson. However, somewhere in the course of history, there is this convoluted process for calculating mandated costs by the per pupil method, and then taking the cost of non-mandated busing and billing the individual towns for the cost. What that means to Whitman is that we're paying 60% of the mandated costs when we only have 48% of the kids riding it. And then we pay 80% of the non-mandated costs because our kids live closer to the schools. We're a smaller town. The cost is significant, and I agree with Mr. King. If this were treated as an operating expense, it would mean a shift of $60,000, not just non-mandated, but $60,000 from Whitman to Hanson, just to rectify the calculations. The second point I want to make is that, as Dr. Kowalski mentioned, the Finance Committee works hand in hand with department heads. So we do meet on Tuesdays from Thanksgiving until now, but we also meet with department heads and representatives. I've been in constant contact with the school committee or the school administration, and I want to acknowledge the amazing job that Dr. Marcus and Matt Wells have done to get us out of a financial black hole, going into fiscal 27 with a sense of trepidation. They have brought transparency and credibility to this budget. So I want to acknowledge the incredible work that they've done. And if we could have postponed addressing non-mandated busing for 1 year, I was willing to give them a break. It's like, let's just let sleeping dogs lie and go through this for 1 more year. But we can't, because as Finance Committee members, we have been given 4 different budgets over the course of the last month. One that depended on cuts to the fire and police safety, so it was the public safety override for $450,000. That didn't go anywhere. The library, closing the library, was a $475,000 cost. That didn't go anywhere. Then there was a proposal that really didn't get an awful lot of airtime called Spend All of Our Free Cash. You don't need an override, but you don't get any of your capital done either. That went nowhere. And more recently, we received the shared burden. So this is not a non-mandated busing budget. The burden is not visible, but we have recommended cuts to the fire department, the police department, the DPW. The library is spending money from a grant or a trust fund to fund the Old Colony Library Network. So there is shared burden. It's not just the schools. But non-mandated busing, when I first was a Finance Committee member, I said, this is a target. This has like a target icon. It has a target sitting on it, waiting for somebody to shoot it down, because it's easy to identify. These costs should be in the school budget, and maintaining the lines of communication both with Chair Tressel and Dr. Marcus and Matt Wells. We Finance Committee members, could not find $235,000 in the rest of the town budget to recommend a balanced budget that funded this. But changes have come to the school in terms of calculating the non-mandated costs. Tonight, we're saving $33,000 potentially because of changing the calculation using ridership from April of 26 to rectify the numbers. That's the way that the $33,000 savings has been identified. But there's also, and it's not written in stone, so I understand the school committee's hesitation, there's also additional state aid being discussed at the state level, where the governor's budget gave a certain amount of money in January. Fiscal 27 was based on that number. That's the only number we had to work with. But the House budget has increased Whitman Hanson's state aid, Chapter 70 funds, by $250,000. There was a recommendation last Wednesday night at the school committee budget subcommittee meeting to use $125,000 to balance the budget, shifting the burden of the school assessment from the towns to the state. The Finance Committee, in all good conscience, could not recommend not addressing that issue. So I respectfully, and I do, respect the time and effort that the school committee and the new administration has put in to giving us a budget that we can deal with, that we can believe. And I wish this is the first school budget that I haven't adamantly defended. It's a new one for me, but we don't have the money. And if the school committee can find $235,000 or now $202,000 in the town budget that we haven't been able to find, then we're open to your suggestions. But the town is already sharing. It's not just this non-mandated busing. There are several big departments in this town that are already sharing the burden of a $500,000 budget gap. Thank you.
Sir.
David Pagoni, 293 School Street. I got to be honest, I'm exhausted by the talk of the math not working. It always works. We are talking about government accounting. We are not talking about personal accounting. We are talking about interest rates. Interest rates are high right now. Are you kidding me? Why are we talking about interest rates? We're talking about short-term solutions to long-term problems, yet every single person that's gotten up here has told me that it's been short-term solutions that have brought us to this place. I'm a consultant, and the fact that our equipment is obsolete and not making it to the next phase, that cost, that's not the town's fault. That is the numbers' fault. Let me tell you something that the numbers aren't going to show, because you could easily have replaced something before it became too costly. You could have easily balanced a budget, because we respectfully depend on you too. But let me tell you what the numbers don't show. The numbers don't show what happens to us. I have to work in Boston at 9 a.m. How am I in that drop-off line? My wife, she travels 30% of the year. How is she in that drop-off line? Now, after school care, like was mentioned, is absolutely a non-starter because there's nowhere there. How am I back from Boston by 2:30? Somebody answer me that. Somebody answer me what happens to the core of a town when the household is stressed beyond belief. You want to fund a police budget? Believe me, you do this to your citizens, your children are stressed in a home that is not focused on them. They are stressed out. I am tired. Find $235,000. It's a pittance. And if it takes coming from the stabilization fund, guess what? Stabilize it, because somebody screwed up, and it wasn't the kids. The only ones not in control of their future.
Ms. Hill.
Rosemary Honahill, formerly Whitman Finance and now School Committee. I think some accurate history should be told. So this was known in 2018, I know, because I sent the email and said this should be part of the assessment. And then again, 2020, I believe, Kathy, that we made that statement and we worked towards it in Finance Committee. It fell out of Finance Committee into the public, into two individuals' hands, and the structural problem was never solved. They did it by patching it up with a secondary thing. So for this amount of time, we have had this problem with no plan to do safe routes for schools, to ensure that we had some sort of alternative for parents. To just do it now, knowing that everyone has known since 2018 at least, that's the first time it publicly when I made that email, everybody has known, is irresponsible. We need time to go in and make sure we have the proper sidewalks. We have a sidewalk near the school that does not line up for wheelchairs. We do not have safe sidewalks. We do not have, and if you think you're going to have the savings, you're not, because that savings is going to transfer right over to having to put into your police and fire. So I really would ask that people think about, and I would agree, I am with the fact that this assessment has to be corrected, but it has to be corrected responsibly. That means we would have had to plan for it. So this is something that you should have taken on last year and said, we're not going to do it, make a plan. We don't have the time to change everything by September to make sure that anything can happen. And we don't play these games with children's budgets. We have lost so many teachers. This has been the one department that gets pulled from. And as far as our stabilization goes, we are borrowing against next year's aid for our circuit breaker, our most vulnerable students, just to open our doors. We have no flexibility to this budget. We were counting on aid to come through. Now, the town also has increases of aid. No mention of that has been made. I think they might need to look at what the House brought in for them and start looking at that when they're picking where the money comes from. Thank you.
Ma'am. Ma'am?
Rebecca Haddad, 193 Harvard Street. My children live on the side of Harvard that does not have a sidewalk. However, if you go diagonal to that beautiful house on the corner, they have sidewalks, but they're included in the busing. Why are my children, who live 3 houses down, not included in that budgeted busing? However you want to put it, my side of the street and further are not included. So are you going to pay to put in the sidewalks to comfortably, safely get my 5-year-old kindergartner to Conley School next year, across Route 18, across 14? I need to know that my child will be safe, just as I would think that you would want to know yours. We as parents need to know that when we leave for work in the morning, before we could even get home in the afternoon, our kids are walking home on safe sidewalks. You can't guarantee me that by September, my 5-year-old and my 9-year-old can walk to Conley without getting hit by a car. No matter what way they go, they have to cross Route 18. Are you going to pay for more crossing guards? Because as far as I can see, that was nowhere changed. I don't see anything adding crossing guards to each corner of 18 to get our kids back and forth to school. We want to know as parents that our kids are safe, and you need to provide that. You need to provide a valid option for these children to get back and forth from school, because this year alone, our kids have lost more than you will ever understand. And now you're saying that our kids are going to lose even more safety, comfortability when they're at school. They're losing more teachers, more aides, more counselors, more everything. They've already lost that this year. We already know that there was a deficit. We already understand that it was somewhat unexplained, but we need answers now as parents.
Ma'am?
Leslie Diorio, 847 Washington Street. Massachusetts general laws set the threshold for required transportation at 2 miles, and this proposal lowers it to 1.5 miles locally by choice and leaves room for that threshold to be expanded further in the future. In practice, we're talking about requiring very young children, including 5-year-old kindergartners, to walk distances of up to 1.5 miles to and from school every day in all conditions. We're all painfully aware of the realities of New England winters. This February alone, we experienced a full week of school closure due to roads being unsafe and sidewalks unwalkable. Yet, under this proposal, those same conditions would become a daily reality for children to navigate. Many of these roads involve main roads. Many of these routes involve main roads. These are not contained neighborhood sidewalks, as you've heard from other speakers. They are high traffic areas where speed, visibility, and driver behavior become safety concerns. So today I took the time to review the addresses within these proposed walking zones. And within them are 5 registered sex offenders where people either reside or work, 2 of whom are level 3 offenders whose crimes involve children. These are not hypothetical routes. These are real paths children would be expected to walk every day. At the elementary level, children do not have the judgment, awareness, or independence to consistently manage these risks safely. This proposal shifts responsibility for those risks from the town to individual families, and for many households, that is not a realistic or equitable expectation. There's also a broader issue here. We continue to struggle with the strategic decision-making in this town. When we make choices that reduce safety and the quality of life for families, particularly families with young children, there should be no surprise that families of means choose to live elsewhere, resulting in dropping enrollment rates in Whitman. This has real consequences. It impacts property values, our tax base, and limits the town's ability to invest in itself over time. We are seeing the results of that pattern. Every few years, we find ourselves in another financial emergency, making reactive cuts instead of building a stable, forward-looking plan. This is not just a short-term decision. It is a long-term positioning decision for Whitman. It's not a budget line item alone. It is a safety issue and a strategic choice that announces who we are as a town. Before making a decision like this, we need to be fully honest about what we are asking young children to do and what kind of community we are choosing to be, because right now this appears to be a shell game with our town's finances and not a viable decision for our children. Thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Justin Evans, 57 Candlewick Lane, and a member of the Select Board. I have a motion to amend. So I'd like to make a motion to amend Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Budget Line 21 Operating Assessment to read as $20,813,708.36. And if I can get a second, I'll explain. Thank you. So I have a series of 3 motions that will get to what Mr. Tressel was trying to do. First, reducing other budget lines to find the money to fund the remaining $202,000 in non-mandated busing. But I do want to be clear that this first motion that was just seconded was the operating assessment. It's reducing the operating assessment by $70,055.49, which was the number that the superintendent presented to the budget subcommittee last Wednesday with the additional state aid. So it was the number that he was comfortable recommending to the budget subcommittee, using state aid, using about $125,000 in additional Chapter 70 and other state funds to reduce the assessments to both Whitman and Hanson. So that's this piece. The second one that I will make will be to pass over Article 23, which is the paving of the staff parking lot at the high school. The school committee's had extensive discussions on this, and they may have another source of funding from a private entity that wants access to a lot back there. But even if they don't, Hanson is not voting on this article tonight. So if we vote it, it's not going to happen until at least next summer anyway. Hanson plans on voting on it in the fall. School starts in the fall. You can't pave a parking lot when school's in session. And then the third motion would be to increase the non-mandated busing line up to that 202,347 that Mr. Tressel read earlier. So I'll pass through this first motion.
Okay, so then we do have a motion to amend the budget line item operating assessment to $20,813,708.36. We had a second. Any further discussion of the amendment? Sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. John Marcus. I am the interim superintendent of schools. Through you, Mr. Moderator. A year and a half ago, I came to Whitman and I didn't know this place very well. And then, through my time at Duval, I fell in love with the students and the staff and the families and this place, this town. And when the world fell apart for us, for the school district, in October and November, I was never planning on being in this spot right now. But I care deeply about our kids. And so I committed to doing whatever I could to find a way forward for a broken school district. And we've done that. Knowing that the towns were hurting financially, knowing what we were up against, we cut and cut and cut some more. 9 more positions, this time mostly administrators. That brings us to 65. We cut over $1 million in curriculum, materials, and supplies. The kids already don't have over $2.5 million worth of staff right now, and they won't next year either. We're not coming tonight to ask you to pay more money or bring more folks back. We're actually asking you to cut 9 more people, and it's awful, and it hurts. Mr. Moderator, if any part of the budget that we presented fails, the entire budget fails, at which point it is my horrible responsibility to start tomorrow morning the process of laying off another 30 to 40 people. We have to, because they have to know by June 1st. We don't have time for another meeting before then. So I will start that tomorrow. I can't believe that I would say that. Through you, Mr. Moderator, I humbly, respectfully request that the town meeting join me in supporting a very lean, conservative budget so we can support our children. Thank you.
Any further discussion of the amendment? The amendment, we're discussing the amendment, sir.
I'm aware of that. Peter Sawyer, 253 Sportsman's Trail. I get the need to adjust the non-mandated busing line item to operating costs to make it more equitable with the town of Hanson. Does the amendment address that need to make it so that the costs are divided according to what was discussed a few minutes, several minutes ago now?
Mr. Evans?
Happy to answer that. The third amendment will do that. Unfortunately, I've got to find the money to fund that line first. So the first amendment is to reduce the operating assessment by about $70,000, assuming the additional state aid that was presented to the school budget subcommittee last week. The second will move to pass over a capital article and fund from free cash into the Article 2. And the third motion would fund non-mandated busing at the 202, which is the lower amount that kicks not the share to Hanson, but back into the operating budget to get additional state aid.
So there was an estimate of difference of, I'm trying to recall, 59,000. There's a proposal of 202, so roughly 143 for non-mandated. Is that the bottom line number? And that some of that would come from the deferring the paving of the parking lot.
And sorry, I think I misunderstood your question the first time. So this does not address the inequity if we were able to put the non-mandated busing back in the operating assessment. This merely meets non-mandated busing the way that the school committee was presented with earlier this week, or last week, under the same structure. Now, I'm also a member of the Regional Agreement Committee. I plan to bring this back up. We have a meeting posted for 27th. Thank you. May 27th. So I think this will be a point of discussion in restructuring it, but it is also very late in the year to try to make that change now. I'm recommending that we, and this is probably without the support of my board, but defer some capital and make up the free cash to make up the difference, but also assume the additional state aid that the school district is going to receive.
So does the amendment, the current amendment, does not address the disparity between the town of Hanson and the town of Whitman as far as per pupil or miles or whatever the case is?
Not the way that Mrs. Otina laid it out earlier, no.
Okay. And you have another amendment that would do that?
I do not. So no, I am only amending to get the non-mandated busing line funded at the 202. Mr. Tressel tried to do, but in order to do that, I'm also reducing the operating assessment by $70,000 to assume the additional state aid and some capital moves.
You're losing me. All right. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So
under the same funding formula that's currently being used, where non-mandated busing is assessed to the towns independently
would that change
as a special operating
year?
cost.
I mean, that's not going to fix it, but that's another.
I mean, I'm deferring the problem for a few weeks,
okay.
But I'm solving it for the next fiscal year, or
thank you.
Whatever, Band-Aids, yeah.
Ma'am?
Thank you. Stephanie Blackman, 18 Pearl Street. I am on the school committee. So first of all, the money that Mr. Evans is proposing we reduce the operating budget by is not promised by any sense of the word. So if you want us to reduce the amount that much, then we're probably going to have to plan on laying off people. In addition to that, the capital, if you've watched the school committee meetings, you know I'm on the capital and operations subcommittee for our district. The town of Whitman and the town of Hanson need to maintain the properties that we have, which means putting money into the capital projects. If you have any questions, please drive up to Whitman Hanson Regional High School and take a ride into the faculty lot and see how your tires and your suspension are doing. It is absolutely horrendous to me that any member of the select board or the FinCom are suggesting that that stuff be put off further. They are actually creating more and more problems by doing that. It is not fair to the schools that they have to do without basic asphalt, whereas other, towns there's an override on there that has nothing to do with making sure that we can bus kids to school. It has nothing to do with making sure that the town can pay to maintain the capital expenses that we have in our district. And, Mr. Moderator, I need to ask a point of order. So I actually have an amendment, but do we have to vote on the amendments that were proposed? Because Mr. Trestle had an amendment which was out of order. Mr.
We're dealing with Mr. Evans' amendment right now,
Yes,
but
so
we have to vote
that's
on
what
that.
I wanted to know.
Yeah.
So we have to vote on his amendment before another amendment to
That's
that
right.
can be proposed. Thank you for clarifying that for me. All right. Thank you.
Sir.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel Street. Through you, Mr. Moderator, if I could ask Dr. Marcus, I know Mr. Evans, mentioned there's the 70,000 coming out of the operation budget. Could you lay out what those cuts would entail?
It wouldn't just be $70,000 because he's forgetting the fact that Hanson is also part of the equation. So 70,000 is 60% of what that 40% extra is what we would actually have to cut. So it's probably 120. I know Mr. Wells is here. He's probably already doing the math. So that's the actual cut. Again, I want to clarify a couple of things to your point and to your question, sir. The word improper was used. That's actually improper. The way that we calculated non-mandated busing has been done since as far back as we can go, 15 years. Do we agree with it? No, not necessarily, but we use the calculation that has been done, that we questioned DESE, we've questioned our legal counsel, and it is absolutely proper. So let's stop calling it improper. Second is that cut, if we go forward with this amendment, as school committee members have said, and I said before, is all we're doing is asking, and I've said this at FinCom and at Select Board, they're asking us to find the 200 grand. There was a $200,000 shortage, turned to the schools and said, find it. This has, in my opinion, very little to do with this concept of 60-40 and 80-20. This has to do with find 200 grand. It's a short-term solution, and I strongly request that we not agree with that amendment, that we please vote the budget that we put forward. Thank you.
Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans. You haven't gone yet. These folks have spoken already.
Mr. Evans.
My name is Tom Evans, 68 Temple Street, Unit 307. I want to pose some questions, a rhetorical in a sense. The question is, who's responsible to fund the DPW, the COA, the Whitman Police Department, Fire Department, the Animal Control, town offices, Board of Health, the library, the schools? The answer is that we, the taxpayers, us. That's the first thing. How can we ensure, and I mean ensure in terms of guarantee, that our children and our grandchildren are safely delivered to their schools? We always have. Why not now? The reality is we need to admit that we do not have enough funds to provide the necessary services we need, that we are accustomed to, and that we deem necessary for all our citizens. For years, I've heard the message from our leader, we need an override. I think the time is now. Another thing, there's a perception here that the town is at the end of its rope in terms of paying. I can never put a price on the safety of a kid, never, no matter where the money comes from. And I would remind the people how frugal the school department has been. We rate number 380 out of 400 school districts. We're near the bottom. We're not overspending. Find a way to do it. And before we leave, let's please agree that this won't happen again. That we do something, and if we need an override, let's do it. Thank you.
Sir, balcony.
Chris Marks, 291 Hog Memorial Drive, also a member of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee. I just want to make a couple of quick points. First off, one of the amendments being proposed here is that the school committee include in their budget money that may eventually be there if three different governmental bodies in the state of Massachusetts get together and on the same page to approve it, over utilizing money that is already there and could be used right now. So I just want to point that out. That's the first point. The second point I want to make is this is not a non-mandated busing situation. This became a non-mandated busing situation when the uproar over the library being closed became so much that the political fallout for it and the finger pointing, we had to back off of that and go towards the next easiest target, which is the non-mandated busing. So that's number two. I agree that the regional agreement should be changed. The time to do that is before now. And we can absolutely take that up and make sure that this doesn't happen again. But by rejecting this budget and putting it back to, I believe, if I heard correctly, Hanson has already finished everything. It's all done. So we're kicking this back against our regional partner and saying, hey, no, we want to start this whole process over and do things differently. So I don't think that's the best negotiating tactic at this time. I think there are ways to fix that for next year. Absolutely. This is not the time. And then not funding the non-mandated busing is not going to save the money. It's not going to save the $202,000. It's not. We're going to have crossing guards at major intersections. A couple of people have talked about it. Mr. Tressel took time over his April vacation to walk a lot of the routes. And one of the routes that in particular caught my eye was 27, where the commuter rail station and the train track crossing is. Dead set within that 1.5 mile perimeter. And you want kids to have to walk to school through there? I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Sir, the balcony.
How you doing? My name is Brian Richardson. I live 8 Rowena Ave in Whitman. So I live at the top of 27. It's basically the last right before you get to the train tracks. There's 8 kids at the bus stop. They range from 9 to 5. So 3rd grade, kindergarten. We just have recently, in the last 3 years, got a sidewalk on the left side going south. That was because a neighbor complained. From that point, yeah, it does continue. My kids are I got 2 7-year-old twins and a 9-year-old. There's a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and another, if I'm guessing, 8-year-old, all at the same stop. You're going to let them walk down 27 every single day? I got to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning. Wife does too. All the way down Route 27. Cars are going 55, 60 miles an hour down that road continuously. No offense to anybody. But the fact of the matter is, especially at that time of day, I am not letting my kids do that, to which now I got to drive them every single day, be late for classes because I'm an educator myself. And the fact of the matter is my classes start at 9:20, 9:15. If I'm not there, I'm late. The other fact of the matter is, too, they're 9, 7, 5, 6, and 8. Maybe I'm off a little bit, but pretty close. This is a safety matter. Find the money. It's all nonsense. Thank you.
Ms. Byers?
Patrick Ricardo, 1 Candlewick Lane in Whitman.
I'm sorry, sir. This woman has the floor right
okay.
now. You're next.
Thank you, moderator. Dawn Byers, 20 Russell Road. I have a procedural question. I'm looking at page 48 in the warrant. We're talking about line 21. So under the department request, which I understand is what the school committee voted, that's funding the busing, $235,440 plus the operating expense. So aside from Mr. Evans' amendment, if the amendment is rejected, and then we come back to the original line item that we're voting on, my question is that the Select Board and the Finance Committee have recommended 0, and at town meeting, we're voting on the far right column, Finance Committee recommendation, correct?
That's right.
So if someone in this room wanted to support the busing, I want to hear from maybe the school committee chair on how a voter can vote to support that busing. Would they need to say no to the Finance Committee recommendation, and then it would go back to the school committee to set a budget again and come back to town meeting? I want to understand how a yes and a no vote impacts this, if I may.
Can you answer that question?
Yeah. So I think what we would be looking for is, and I think Ms. Blackman, after we vote on Mr. Evans' motion, Ms. Blackman has a motion that finds money to fund it here tonight, which is, I think, what the school committee would like to see happen, is that both our operating assessment and our nominating busing assessment are funded tonight through funds, and our capital, thank you, Ms. Blackman, through available funds here at town meeting tonight. That would be our ask of the people in town meeting.
So if that number is different from your original request.
Right, we would make an amendment for the 202 as opposed to the 235. So we would make an amendment, assuming the outcome of Mr. Evans' amendment allows for another amendment. We would have an amendment that would increase that from $0 to 202, 347, 38. I've read it enough, I should know it by now, but to that amount, and then with an amendment to use funds from other sources to pay for that tonight.
Okay, then I would move the question for Mr. Evans' amendment, so we can move through that process.
Okay, we have a motion then to move directly to a vote on the amendment. So all in favor of moving to a vote right now, kind of would essentially end debate, and we'd vote on the amendment, then we'd return to discuss line
Excuse me.
21. All in favor of moving to a vote now, say yes. Opposed, no? Okay. All in favor of Mr. Evans' amendment, say yes. Opposed, no? The amendment is not adopted. Okay, further discussion of line 21. Sir. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a gentleman up there who wanted to speak first. I'm sorry.
Patrick Ricardo, 1 Candlewick Lane in Whitman. I guess I still have a question. First of all, are we still looking at, we're not getting rid of busing, am I correct? We are saying the town is not responsible, the school district is responsible. Am I correct on that?
Sir?
As Mr. Tom Evans said, the town is responsible for funding our budget. So we're...
No, not the budget, the non-mandated busing.
Which
That
is
was
part
my
of the
question.
budget, yes.
And
So-
the Finance Committee has worked very hard to recommend that is $0 from the town. Therefore, it goes to the school committee, am I correct? So I'm kind of wondering here how many people in this room that are arguing about the busing situation are actually attending their school committee meetings. That's where I think the issue is. Good, you should be there. That is where it is. I work for a school system too. So you should be going to those school committee meetings, definitely. If I'm not sure, I'm not there, but if this room is this many people is at a school committee meeting, then things are going to happen for that school committee for sure. So again, we are now talking about the Finance Committee recommending $0 for non-mandated busing, correct? And the school committee would take on that cost.
No. If I may, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, please.
Okay. The town of Whitman needs to fund all of the parts of the budget, including non-mandated busing. If you move non-mandated busing from 0 over into the operational part of the budget, then I'm simply going to cut another $300,000 in order to make that work.
Right. Then why, I'm sorry, why is the Finance Committee across the board recommending $0?
I'll let them answer that.
I think they already have.
I think they already have
answered
yeah.
it.
Sir?
Richard Marnell, 167 Sportsman's Trail. My daughter would be, she's starting Connolly in the fall, and she'd be one of the kids that loses out on busing if it's not paid for. But I don't for a second think that anybody up here wants my 5-year-old daughter walking to school. It seems like pretty much everybody in the room thinks that we should be keeping the busing, and that 5-year-olds shouldn't be walking a mile and a half. So my question is, to Mr. Evans's point, is if we pass the $500,000 override, does that solve the problem that seems? Okay. Can someone answer that for me?
That might be a selective question.
Do we have someone who can address this issue? Ms.
So
Carter.
the article, yes. Article 6 does read, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate outside the levy limit of Proposition 2.5, so-called $500,000 to be added to Article 2, budget lines 1 through 35, voted this date, thereby funding the town's operating budget and regional school district assessments for fiscal year 2027, provided that this additional appropriation shall be contingent on the approval of a Proposition 2.5 levy limit override under General Laws, Chapter 59, subsection 21CG, or take any other action relative thereto. So it is in here that this $500,000 certainly could go to the cuts that were made in budget lines 1 through 35.
Mr. Kane?
I would like to emphasize something as well. If non-mandated busing is voted down tonight, as we said, the Select Board and the Finance Committee don't want non-mandated busing to be eliminated. That's not the point of what we're asking. What will happen is the school committee will have to re-meet and talk about this, brainstorm. They'll talk to the leadership here and hopefully come up with a compromise that works for both. Right now on the floor, if we fund this, you're going to have to come up with money that hasn't been kind of worked through on the fly, and it's more, to me, it feels a bit more reckless. We're simply asking that if you vote this down, it sends it back to the school committee. They're going to have another meeting, and then we will likely have another town meeting to decide this issue properly.
Yes, sir.
So, Brian Tressel, 210 Temple Street, chairman of the Whitman Hanson School Committee. So, I've heard a lot of talk from both members of the FinCom and from Mr. Kane that they don't want to cut non-mandated busing, and they just want to send it back to us. And where are they going to get the money in a month from now when we have a second town meeting? They don't have the money now. They don't have the money now. So, I think that this argument that they want to send it back to us so that we will put it in the operating assessment, it will go 60-40. First of all, that requires Hanson, who has already voted their budget tonight, to then have to vote to increase the budget they just voted on. I don't know if I can guarantee that if the situation were reversed and we voted a school budget and Hanson voted it down and said we want Whitman to pay more, we would gladly come back and raise our assessment for them. I don't think that's the way I do not think this is the way that you deal with disagreements between partners. And Hanson is our partner. I took over as chair in December. All right, as someone mentioned, I have not even been on this committee a full year. But in that time, since I took over in December, we hired a new superintendent, a new business manager. We have created new subcommittees to create more oversight over the school budget. And yes, we have set up, I have personally put effort in to reestablish the Regional Agreement Committee and set a meeting for May 27th to reopen this discussion, because I think that's the way that you deal with disagreements when you're adults. You do not do this kind of parliamentary maneuver to threaten to take buses away from kids to force your partner to take on more expense on, and I understand there are disagreements about how this is assessed. I think that's a very fair discussion to have. I have been in this job for less than 6 months, or about 6 months. So we're working on it. Dr. Marcus has been here since January. He's been here since 5 months. In that time, he built a budget from scratch. His predecessor did not do the work of building a budget, starting the budget process. Dr. Marcus and Matt Wells, our new business manager, had to do that on the fly, and they did a tremendous job of giving a budget that as much as they say 5% is imaginary number or whatever, that was the number that they gave. That's the number that they have traditionally used as their benchmark number. We gave them one that was 4.77%. To do that, to get to that number, we made an additional $2.2 million in cuts to our schools. So on top of the 56 people we lost since June of last year, and in the fall, we're losing another 9 administrative positions that Dr. Marcus is cutting this year in the budget and expenses to get that number to the number 4.77 that we're presenting to you tonight. We have already shared this burden. We have already made the sacrifices. So for the FinCom and the Select Board to come to us and say, you haven't sacrificed enough, we have cut millions and millions of dollars. Those are teachers, those are paraprofessionals, those are support staff. We have already shared this burden. To the point that if we bring it back to Hanson, we bring it back to the school committee and we put in the operating budget, first of all, we are risking that Hanson will then vote it down, this new budget down, and then we are in what is called we will get into a point where it's called the 1/12 budget. And in a 1/12 budget, what Dr. Marcus intimated at, we have to let people know by June 1st whether or not we will be able to fund them in July. And if we do not have a budget by June 1st, we will not be able to fund those individuals, and we will have to RIF people. I think he said over 30 people we would have to RIF in order to do that. It's a dangerous game of chicken that they're asking us to play, just send it back, and then we'll do another town meeting and it'll all be hunky-dory. Again, I ask the question, they do not have, if this 230 that we had when we came in tonight, if we had switched it and it was 170, where's that 170? It's not in this budget. They don't have it. They're using that as a cover to say, we don't want to cut busing. We're not trying to cut busing. But the fact is, you can all look at whatever page that was in the warrant. They cut it. It's 0. They didn't put 170 there. They didn't put some other number. They put 0. So I ask you they're asking you to trust them. Trust them that we come back here in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They're going to find $170 to fund this. 170. I have 170. I'll pay it right now. But 170,000. Where is that 170,000? They don't have it. I've asked them multiple times where they would fund it from, and I don't get answers about that. That is a cover they're using to justify cutting this budget and then forcing the school to make the cuts in our own budget to pay for it. That is all I see here. So I think that this idea that we vote it down now and we'll come back later, we'll fix it, it'll all be hunky-dory. There are so many steps. The words just drive me nuts. Just do this. It is so complicated to do this because we also have to include our partners in Hanson, making sure that they would willingly vote to take another $70,000 on to the budget they already have approved tonight. They're all drinking hot cocoa at their houses now probably because they've already dealt with this issue. They funded their budget. So we are asking them to say, well, bring it back. They'll just pay $70,000 and we'll all be all set. If that doesn't happen, what's the next step? The next step is tremendous cuts to our school system that has already taken so many cuts. I respectfully ask that we fund this budget tonight as presented by the school committee. Thank you.
Mr. Kimball?
Mr. Moderator, we've had a long discussion, and I think everybody here understands what busing means. So let's take that off the table. Let's go for the budget. There's a potential amendment here. Let's hear what the amendment is. Stop dickering back and forth. Maybe we can come to a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator?
Ma'am?
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator?
I'm sorry? Well, I've just recognized the speaker.
Mr. Moderator?
So a motion to amend Article 2, Line 21, non-mandated busing assessment to change the current figure of $0 to read $202,347.38 to be taken from stabilization account.
All right. Okay, all right, we have a motion to amend line 21? Hang on. Yeah. We're just going over some legalities.
I apologize, Mr. Moderator. I've been told I have to state it's from the general stabilization account,
Okay,
not
could you-
just stabilization.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion then to amend Article 2, line 21, non-mandated busing assessment, to change the current figure 0 to read $202,347.38 to be taken from the general stabilization account. One second. So what we have here is, if when we do put this to a vote, we'll just need a simple majority to amend the line item, but then we'll have to vote on the line item itself, and that will require a 2/3 majority vote. Okay, just so we're understood. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Discussion of the amendment.
I
Ms.
have a question.
Landeville,
Yes, can the Finance Committee,
could you please state your name and address?
Cindy Landeville, 20 Harvard Street, can the Finance Committee or anyone else in here explain the stabilization fund, how much is in it? And I have a second question for the school committee and the superintendent. What is in the excess and deficit account of Whitman Hanson? Because as of June, they were sitting on over 700,000.
Deal with question 1 first. Ms. Carter.
Okay, yes. Let me just take a look here. So there's two stabilization funds. The general stabilization fund has a balance of $3,446,200.78, and that's a stabilization that if we touch that, our financial advisors have told us it will definitely put negative pressure on our bond rating. That's why I don't want to touch that one, because we certainly will not receive the rates and that we did this year. So I just caution on that. And there's the capital stabilization fund, which the balance in the capital stabilization fund after the articles that are in the warrant, the balance there would be $246,032.47.
And the question about the schools?
The money that you're talking about is called E&D, excess and deficiency. At the moment, that money has not been certified. We're working incredibly hard to get that money certified. So at the moment, we have 0 available to us.
Further discussion of the amendment? Further discussion of the amendment? Sir, did you have a question, sir? No, the gentleman behind you? Yeah. Go, please. It's related to the amendment.
So my name is Joel Arsenal of 375 Homeland Drive. So first off, to the original proposal of cutting non-mandated busing, I want to say I do not agree with this proposal, and we should not be punishing students and younger kids for what is a matter of budget mismanagement. I understand that we need to control the cost, I do, but this proposal on non-mandated busing overlooks a more practical and balanced solution. Right now, many buses on mandated routes are not full. That means we already have buses driving through town with empty seats, which I've seen while I've been dropping off my younger brother at high school and my younger cousin at Conley. Eliminating non-mandated busing doesn't improve efficiency. It simply leaves those seats unused while creating new challenges for families. The 1.5 mile cutoff may seem reasonable on paper, but it doesn't reflect real life conditions. Weather, safety, traffic, lack of sidewalks, and the age of students all matters. For many families, especially single parent households or those with strict work schedules, getting a child to school without transportation isn't just inconvenient, it's a real hardship. A better approach would be to integrate non-mandated students into existing mandated bus routes wherever there is available spaces. This space available model could include an optional fee and clear guidelines to prevent overcrowding. By doing this, we maximize the use of buses already on the road without significantly increasing the cost. This isn't just about transportation, it's about fairness, safety, and the use of resources wisely. If buses are already running with empty seats, we should be filling them, not turning families away. Thank you.
The lady standing behind you, Ms. Landeville, hasn't had a chance to speak yet. She'd like to ask a question.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Perry. I'm at 44 Broad Street. And just echoing what everybody else has said, but if anybody else gets their neighborhood on the bus like I do, I think we can all agree that most of the children that are 5 to 4th grade are completely unhinged. And getting them to just stand at a bus stop is a lot to ask of them, never mind having them walk almost 2 miles. Many of you in this room know me. I have long COVID and was on life support for 4 months for COVID. And you're asking me to walk my 5-year-old and the rest of the neighborhood boys across train tracks and many other intersections is absolutely ludicrous. And I know I'm not the only parent that is in this position that is asked to get the neighborhood on the school bus because they all have to be at work. Am I right? Because I know I get 7 kids on the bus every morning and 6 of them aren't mine. And I think it's absolutely asinine the way the money has been handled in this district. And we still don't have answers where the rest of our money went from the budget
We're
from the last
discussing
year.
the amendment right now. We'll try to keep the
I understand that,
focused on
sir.
the amendment.
But our money's being mismanaged, and what you're hearing is parents in this district are very, very angry with the way it's being mismanaged still.
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? Sir. Okay.
My name is Gene Ward, 968 Washington Street. I'm supporting the amendment because the way I see it right now, we have members of the Financial Committee and the Town Council trying to get us to solve the problem that they haven't been able to solve. And they want to put it on the school committee. I think most of the people here tonight want to see non-mandated funding for busing. And I think it should be as simple as that. There's a lot of inside baseball being discussed that we don't necessarily understand. We just want to vote on this one item. We have dutifully and unanimously supported all the rest of the recommendations in this budget, including increases for funding to other departments.
All right. Further discussion of the amendment? No, ma'am?
I'm sorry, Stephanie Blackman, 18 Pearl Street, again. I just wanted to answer the question regarding the $700,000 in E&D that the school may have coming that isn't certified yet. Some of you may remember October, November, the big debt that we had, and I think there were more people attending our school committee meetings than there are here now, right, at that point. However, we are operating in a hole, and we are trying to work our way out of the hole. So E&D money may need to be used, or will likely need to be used. A ginormous part of it, I believe the last school committee meeting that they talked about it, we might have $22,000 left over. That's not meant to fund backwards. that's meant to fund forwards. And asking the school committee to, again, do without does not make sense in any way, shape, or form. And again, making wishes and promises for a potential solar money deal or for, more government funding is not a guarantee. This is where the guarantee is. So please support the amendment to fund non-mandated busing in schools. Thank you.
Sorry.
Hello, Kevin Wolf, 3 Shelley Lane, member of the Finance Committee. State out loud, I was a member of the Finance Committee who was for funding non-mandated busing. I agree with funding it. I don't agree with the source of capital stabilization. I think that is bad for the town. General stabilization. Well, so I would like to make a motion. I don't know if we need to vote on the motion first, but I have a motion that would still fund non-mandated busing, but take it out of other articles, passing those over tonight.
Well, we have to dispose of this amendment first. We have to do that, and then we can move on to whatever. Unless the maker of the motion would like to amend their motion, would like to change their motion. If you can change your motion if you want to change your motion. The maker of the motion, right? No? 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 Oh, I'm told no. No, we can't do it that way. Nope. Oh, we can't do it that way.
Pardon, Mr. Moderator, sorry.
Yeah. Where are we? Okay,
In
yeah.
the balcony.
Yeah.
Can I move to vote on the amendment on the floor?
Yes, we can move the question. Do we have a second? All right. All in favor of moving to a vote on the amendment, say yes. Opposed, no. Okay. All in favor of amending line 21, say yes. Opposed, no. Okay. I think we'll have to use our little handsets here to determine how that goes. This is majority. This is just majority. We're voting to amend the line to that. Then we have to vote on the amended line. After that. No. Yeah, we haven't voted to accept the amendment.
That's how we discussed it.
No, we happened 6 ago. To accept the amendment, right? But not. But
It's your fault. I think we already accepted it.
it's a simple majority. Thumbs up. Okay. Okay.
The discussion.
We didn't vote to accept this amendment, though. We haven't voted it. What's that? I can't hear you.
I think they're waiting for this to load up.
So,
Okay, so just to be clear here, what we're doing here is we're voting to amend line 21. We are not voting to actually approve line 21. That will come next. Okay, but first we're going to see if we're going to amend line 21 or not.
Mr. Moderator, could you just repeat the amendment for
Yes.
folks?
So the amendment is a motion to amend Article 2, line 21, non-mandated busing assessment to change the current figure of 0 to read $202,347.38 to be taken from the general stabilization account. Right? Okay, so we're ready to go? Okay. So, okay, so we'll open the voting now. We'll have, say, 30 seconds. Use your handset to vote. So you'll see you have a number on the back of your device. If you find your number up there, when the box turns blue, that means that the system received your vote. You should also see a little OK in the little window here that says the system received your vote. That was the amendment, you know? It should light up. Go grab another one. Is it on? Yeah, people standing up. It's saying it's not lighting up.
Blue's voting you later.
Correct. Trying to see if this technology glitch can be worked out. All right, folks, we have your attention, please. We seem to have a problem with these things, and they're not working properly. So we're going to have to revert to the old school method of the standing count. Okay, tellers. I'll need the. We'll try a standing vote. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do a standing vote. Are our tellers ready? Okay, so we're going to do the old-fashioned way. We're going to do a standing count to amend this line, or to decide whether this line item should be amended. All in favor of amending the line item, please stand. And tellers, if you could please count the standing folks. Balcony?
96.
96. Okay, you can be seated, and all opposed to amending the line item, please stand. One seven. Balcony?
8.
8. So it's 186 to 35. The line item is amended. All right, so discussion of the amended line item. Mr. Kimball.
Point of order, do we have to revote Article 2-1? Because now we have a different funding source?
It's a question. I'd see if I can find an answer for you. The question is now, do we have to vote Article 2, Motion 1? Yeah. No, council advises we do not have to revote that now. All right. Further discussion of line 21 is amended. Sir.
I'd just like to move that instead of taking that out of the general stabilization fund, which I think is a poor idea for the future of this town, that we would take that from free cash instead. There is money in free cash. We have not voted on the articles where that money has been appropriated for. So when that time comes from that, we could pass over an equal amount to that or vote no, that free cash won't be there.
We'll need a motion to amend them. No, it's been adopted. So we have a motion to amend line item 21 that the funding should be appropriated from free cash rather than from the general stabilization fund. Discussion of the amendment, Mr. Rotina?
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel. What is the current balance of free cash?
Ms. Carter?
The current amount, if we vote all of the articles in the warrant, would be $35,322.89. But I think that the plan here is to vote it out of free cash. We can't close the meeting until we have a balanced budget, and then pass over a few articles to get us where we need to be to fund this line.
Is there a preview of what those articles may be?
Yes, so I believe what was discussed, the first one was the paving article for $114,995. And we would recommend to pass over that article for two reasons. Number one, there is a possible second, another alternative for paying for that. And if that doesn't happen, and certainly Hanson didn't put it on their warrant this evening, so we don't usually fund our half of the article until Hanson does as well. So I would say that if that alternate source doesn't come through, that we would simply vote this in the fall if we have a fall town meeting, or in the spring, the 114,995. And then 80,000 is made up of 30,000 for the capital improvement plan. That's one of the articles on this evening, and then 50,000 for the roads for the DPW. And then the difference would just leave $7,352, which is in the balance of the 35,322.89. So it could work passing over three articles.
Okay, thank you. I would be in favor of Mr. Wolf's amendment. I think it's a fantastic plan.
Sir?
Gene Ward, 968 Washington Street. Is that the same implication if it comes from the stabilization fund? Do we still have to cut other parts of the town budget if the money comes from the stabilization fund?
No, if the money were to come for the general stabilization fund, all the other articles could stay. However, it was our intention for the 114,995 to pass over that anyway, because Hanson didn't vote it this evening, and it was our intention to pass over the 30,000 capital improvement plan anyway. So we were passing over those two, so it would only be the roads article, and I say only, but that's an important article. But we do have a Chapter 90, which we always have each year, which I believe is 509,000 this year. It's not ideal, but it would work.
Yeah, I'm just concerned again that if we go with free cash, then you're asking us to make decisions all over again about all these different areas that we would have to pass over. I think that's your job. I think you guys need to do that. What we want to do is just fund the non-mandated busing.
And that will be accomplished through this. Touching the general stabilization account is the worst idea. I mean, I don't recommend
But that way,
it.
we don't have to pass over and think about all the other cuts that might need to
But
be
we were
made.
going to suggest passing over two
But that-
anyway.
But that is not what we're here for tonight.
You can vote as you would like.
Mr. Evans?
Justin Evans, 57 Candlewick Lane in the Select Board. Oh, sorry. Justin Evans, 57 Candlewick Lane and member of the Select Board. I support using free cash for this rather than general stabilization for all the reasons Mary Beth just raised, but also, we are borrowing a significant amount of money right now for the middle school building project, and our bond rating is based on how much cash reserves we have. So we'll be hurting ourselves long-term by pulling out of general stabilization. However, if we make this amendment to fund non-mandated busing out of free cash, when we get to those individual articles, town meeting will still have the option to amend those to be funded from capital stabilization rather than from free cash or general stabilization. So this does not, I'm going to recommend that we not do that, but this leaves the door open if any of these individual capital articles are that important, the town meeting feels they should be funded.
Right. Ms. Byers, did you have something?
John Byers, 20 Russell Road. I'm looking at the article you're recommending that later tonight we would pass over. It's on page 6, Article 23 for $114,995. It's to pave the high school parking lot. The town has a capital improvement plan from 2020 that the Collins Center presented. It hasn't been talked about much lately, but in that capital improvement plan was this parking lot back in 2020. And the recommendation was to pave it in FY22. Clearly, that recommendation wasn't followed, but I'm here to share some information that this is long overdue. So there's now a motion to, reallocate money to use the funds that would have paved this parking lot and kick this further down the road. So I just wanted to share that information that this should have been done 4 years ago. And the towns were aware of it. The capital improvement plan was given to them. There was no plan back in 2020 to take care of at least this item and some other items. So poor planning shouldn't be short-sighted, and now we have to delay it even further.
Ms. Hill?
Thank you. Oh, short. Sorry. Thank you. Rosemary Hanahill, 405 Franklin and Whitman School Committee now. But I do want to point out, and I want to thank Ms. Byers, who made a mention that the $30,000 section of this is something that in the past we have gotten grants for, and versions of this capital plan are available for free with the DLS. So she was able to point that out and have us sort of have this opportunity to save that $30,000. And I want to thank her for that. Secondly, the other section of the parking lot, although I agree should be something we do, if it is that we don't have busing or this, I would go with something that our superintendent had recommended, to just pause on this and revisit this when Hanson has paid their share. This is a very responsible approach. I'm going to also agree with Mary Beth. We really do not want to touch our stabilizations at this point. So this really gives an opportunity to find that real middle line to both secure our bond rating and our ability to borrow, while also making sure these kids have busing. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Kathleen Trask, 65 Homeland Drive. I'm looking just for some clarity, because I have the paper that was given out that says if all three parts of the budget don't pass today, we need to pink slip 37 more staff members, which one is unacceptable. And I understand that we're losing 9, which was a necessary evil that we have to deal with as parents for our children and that the kids are taking in school. But my question is, what are those 3 parts that we need to be passing to not eliminate the roles? Because if taking from free cash, I feel like we're playing a game of cups right now, and we have to hope we pick the one that had the ball under it. And I really need a guarantee to pick that ball in order to vote for things. So can we have some understanding as to where these 3 items are, so that we're not eliminating 37 more staff members?
I'm not sure where this flyer came from. I did not see this flyer. Nobody asked permission to post it there, which you need to do for the moderator. I would encourage you to ignore it. I don't know that this information is any good. I don't know where it came from. It shouldn't be here.
So,
sir,
may I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So line 21 for the Whitman Hanson Regional School District, when it says all 3 parts, is the operating expense, the non-mandated busing, and the debt service. Those are the 3 components of our quote-unquote operational budget. Any one of those components doesn't pass, and that leads to the difficulties that you just mentioned.
Sir?
Declan Ware, Town Veteran Service Officer, also live at 8 Grove Way, Whitman, Mass. I just want to bring up a point to everyone that I don't think it's really been discussed yet. And this is my Army non-commissioned officer mind going. I think we're worried about right now, like the monetary amount, like yay or nay. But what I'm thinking is execution. Is there, and this is not a knock on the professionalism or anything of the school district, but where I'm going with this is is there any way that maybe the busing routes, the lines maybe can be redrawn? Is there any way the busing system can be more efficient? Like when I was a platoon sergeant in the 82nd Airborne Division, I had to have a butt-to-seat roster for every single vehicle for all of my soldiers. I knew what vehicle they were on. Is there any way that we could possibly be more efficient to save money with this proposal going on?
We're discussing the amendment, so quickly.
Oh, yeah, just Ryan Tressel, Chair of the Whitman School Committee. Dr. Marcus, as I said, started in January, but he and I have had a discussion that his plan is to reevaluate and look at the transportation policy that we have and find any efficiencies that he can. Again, like I said, he took over in a very difficult time in our district, and so he's working through all these things as he comes to them. But that is something I know that he has pledged that he will work on, to your point of making sure that as we enter this new bus contract for next year, that we'll be looking for every efficiency that we can to save money and make it as efficient and effective as possible and cost efficient. So,
Sir, in balcony.
Matthew McKenzie, 49 Belmont Street. I just strongly feel that we should do this from free cash. If we touch that capital stabilization fund, I mean, I have a 6-year-old. I plan on staying in district all the way until he's through high school. I know this will end with people losing jobs down the line if our bond rating gets messed up. Interest is the most powerful force in the universe. If we have to pay 1% higher, that means you're losing 3 or 4 teachers. If it's 2 or 3% higher, that means firefighters, police, everyone in town is going to be hit. So it's like taking a hit to your credit score. It's the same type of thing. So if we don't do free cash, if we decide to go with the capitalization, the stabilization fund, we're going to have a big problem down the line. And we're not going to feel it today, but we'll feel it in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And if you're planning on staying in town for the long term, it's just a really bad idea to do it from that fund. So if we're going to do it, we really have to do it from free cash. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Catherine Dugan, 6 Lions Lane. I think I was just wanting to make sure I understand everything. So we can vote this as they propose and pass over the thing. Then we would vote on the school budget line item. And if that passes, there wouldn't be any cuts, or would there be cuts still? I just want to make sure I'm getting this, understanding it properly.
Sir?
I'm so sorry. Can you say it again, please, Ms. Dugan?
So I guess I'm just making sure that, so we can pass over these things as we said, and we'd have the non-mandated busing. Then we go on to vote the school committee budget. And if we pass that, will there be cuts?
No. As long as those 3 parts pass, then we should be fine.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, there will still be 9 cuts at the end of the year.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's
right.
part of the budget.
Not the additional ones we were
No,
talking
not
about.
additional.
Thank you.
Okay. There being no further discussion, we're going to vote now on amending the source of funding from the General Stabilization Fund to free cash. All in favor, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Okay, the article is amended. The line item is amended. Okay, discussion of the amended line item. Okay. Sir, Mr.
Chris George, 4 Shelley Lane. As this amendment stands, I support it. However, we are just kicking the can down the road, again, using one-time funding to fund the operating budget. We've done that a number of years. I've heard a lot of people here say just fund it. I'll maybe disagree with Mr. Kane a little bit, but we worked together a long time ago on an override proposal. We worked together on a committee with an outside consultant who suggested funding the school assessment at 5% after Whitman passed a general override to bring the budget up to an acceptable level. Not 5% from where it was, but 5% after we funded an override that never happened. We're behind the 8 ball. It's not these people's responsibility to go out and support an override. It's our responsibility. We worked very hard on one many years ago. It lost by 70 votes in Whitman. It got destroyed in Hanson. There are people, there are spouses, there are people who work in town departments who did not come out and vote during that election. You can pull the voter rolls and see who showed up and see who didn't. I have more respect if you come and vote against it than if you don't show up at all. But that's going to take work from the people in this room. My kids are almost gone. They don't go to our school system anymore. We still live in town. I want to support it, but I can't do the work. There are a whole series of parents out there who are going to need to do the work. It's not easy. So this solves a very short problem, but if you want to fix it, when you leave this room, not after the next election, not next year when the school committee meets, you need to start the work now. That's it.
Sir?
Edwin at 308 Rainer Ave. We're voting on the line item 21. Now I have a different question regarding the Whitman Middle School debt, the increase of 150%, and I'm hoping someone could explain that. I wanted to ask before we vote, and it's gone.
Can somebody answer that?
So the Whitman Middle School debt line increased considerably because we had that $61 million borrowing. So that payment that you see in the fiscal 27 line is for the first year of the $30 million that we bonded. That will include principal plus interest, and it will also include the interest on the $31 million ban. So that's why you see a large increase last year. That $1,230,350 was strictly interest on a $30 million ban. And now we have a $30 million bond and a $31 million ban. We have $61 million out in debt so far on that project, and that's the debt payment that will come due in fiscal 27.
All right, further discussion of line item 21. All right, then all in favor of line 21 as amended, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 21, line item 21 is adopted unanimously. Okay, that's Article 2. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate outside the levy limit of Proposition 2.5, so-called $500,000 to be added to Article 2, budget lines 1 through 35, voted this state, thereby funding the town's operating budget and regional school district assessments for fiscal year 2027, provided that this additional appropriation shall be contingent on the approval of a Proposition 2.5 levy limit override under General Laws, Chapter 59, Sections 21CG, or take any other action relative thereto. Do we have a motion? In a second. Discussion of Article 6. All right, all in favor of Article 6, say yes. Opposed, no. We'll have to do a standing count on that one, I'm afraid. Okay? If you're in favor of Article 6, please stand. They sound louder than they stand. Yeah. 9, okay. Balcony? 4. Okay, all opposed to Article 6, please stand. If you're opposed to Article 6, please stand. You're opposed. Stand if you are opposed. Mhm. $29. 64 in the balcony. $45. So the vote is 17 in favor and 138 opposed, so the article fails. Article 7, to see if the town will appropriate and transfer $105,031.30 from free cash to the Capital Stabilization Fund as outlined in the free cash policy, which was voted by the Select Board on March 25th, 2025, or take any other action relative thereto. A motion, a second? All right, discussion of Article 7? All right, all in favor of Article 7, say yes. Opposed, no? Article 7 is adopted. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $234,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $26,000 from the water sewer retained earnings for a total of $260,000 to implement a new cloud-based financial management system, including licensing, data migration, configuration, training, and related implementation services to replace the town's existing financial software system or take any other action relative thereto. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Discussion of Article 8. Okay, this does require a 2/3 majority to pass. All in favor of Article 8, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 8 is adopted. Article 9, see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $84,000 from free cash to purchase and equip one police vehicle or take any other action relative thereto. Motion and a second. Discussion of Article 9. Yes, ma'am.
Lindsay Scudderin, 564 Washington Street. This motion is to replace a vehicle, correct? Replace a vehicle on like, that's what the money's for?
That's what it says.
Yeah. So what is the exact mileage on this vehicle so high that it needs to be replaced? I've seen the Whitman PD lot. I know that there are a lot of cars. What is the point of replacing a vehicle when we only have 26 police officers in this town?
Chief.
Chief Tim Hanlon, 55 Indian Trail. So this is like a rolling inventory of vehicles. So we replace the oldest vehicle. We don't replace new vehicles.
Sure.
So it's a trickle-down theory. It goes down from the newest one, gets passed on, and so on and so forth. We have a lot of events where we need more than the number of cruisers and officers that are out there, and we use those sidelined vehicles or the ones that are sidelined in those instances. So they're not used all the time. So to answer your question, these vehicles, we have a number of them that have over 100,000 miles, and that's what we're replacing because it's at the bottom of the list. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Right. Other questions on Article 9? Ms. Hill?
Rosemary Honahill, I just want to know if there was a capital improvement, and thank you very much, short people problems. There was a capital improvement and Madden report on, did you hear me? Sorry, thank you, Stephanie. There's a capital improvement plan that's in place. Is this replacement just in line with what we're supposed to be replacing? You know.
The short answer to that is yes. If we follow along the program, we replace them. That way, we're always in line. If we push it down, further down the line, then we're just going to be asking for two later on. We did need two last year, as a matter of fact. So this just puts us back in line to where we need to be. Thank you.
All right, other discussion of Article 9? All right, all in favor of Article 9, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 9 is adopted by majority. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $26,000 from free cash to purchase police department duty firearms or take any other action relative thereto. Motion second. Discussion of Article 10. Yes, ma'am.
Stephanie Blackman, 18 Pearl Street. And I actually just have a question as to where our free cash balance is at this point in time, given the, I feel like I need a running tally up here or something, but I just want to make sure that with the non-mandated busing passing from free cash, that there is enough money in free cash for the things we're proposing still.
Ms. Carter, do you want to?
No. Like I mentioned, there were a few articles that we're looking to pass over. We need to pass over those articles so that we still have a balanced budget by the end of this evening. So we had 35,000 roughly, and 202 or so was put on there. But if we pass over the 114,995, the 30,000 for the capital stabilization and 50 for roads, we'll only need a little over 7,000, which is within our $35,000 amount that we have on hand. But there are three articles that I would say, are more targeted to pass over. So these articles here are not ones that we want to pass over for sure.
Sir?
Richard Blas, 24 Reporter. A quick question for the police chief. The service firearms that you're going to replace, those will be, you're planning on trading in the existing, is that correct?
That's correct, and this money offsets that.
May I make a request of you, prior to trading those in, whatever value those firearms have, I would request that you would offer those just for sale to legitimate LTC holders from the town of Whitman. It can be done not through a dealer.
That's not really related to Article 10, so
Thank you.
take that up with the police chief. Right, other discussion of Article 10? All right, all in favor of Article 10, say yes. Opposed, no. Okay, looks like we're going standing again, guys. All in favor of Article 10, stand. This would be really good. It didn't work. It didn't work. Okay. 32. Four seven. 55 from Bell. Okay, you can sit now. All opposed to Article 10, please stand. Hmm. 11. 18. $134 to 35, Article 10 is adopted. People yell louder than they stand. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $28,500 from free cash to purchase police department ballistic vests or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion. We have a second. Discussion of Article 11. Right, all in favor of Article 11, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 11 is adopted by majority. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer $96,105.17 of excess DPW building project funds from Article 14 of the October 2023 STM. This amount represents $56,532.45 originally appropriated from free cash and $39,572.72 originally appropriated from the Capital Stabilization Fund. Both represent general funds, and appropriate and transfer $3,894.83 from free cash to purchase new fire hoses and accessories to equip the current engine with modern-day fire hoses and accessories to bring engines into compliance with National Fire Protection Association guidelines, or take any other action relative thereto. A motion, we have a second. Discussion of Article 12. All right, this does require a two-thirds vote. All in favor of Article 12, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 12 passes unanimously. Article 13, to see if the town will appropriate and transfer $50,000 from free cash for the purpose of resurfacing and/or installing surface treatments, engineering services, granite purchases, and line painting to streets, and to replace, repair, or install sidewalks on various town streets, or take any other action relative thereto.
Pass over.
We have a motion to pass over Article 13. Second, discussion of the passover? Nope. All in favor of passing over Article 13, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 13 is passed over unanimously. To see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $214 from the overlay surplus account and appropriate and transfer $19,786 from free cash to pay for engineering costs associated with seeking state transportation improvement program funds, or take any other action relative thereto. A motion? Second, discussion of Article 14. Okay, all in favor of Article 14, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 14 is adopted unanimously. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $509,428.89 in available Chapter 90 funds for the purpose of resurfacing and/or installing surface treatments, install sidewalks, street signs, signals, and paint lines on various town streets, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion second. Discussion of 15. All right, all in favor of 15, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 15 adopted unanimously. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $650,000 from water sewer retained earnings to purchase and equip a hydro excavation vector truck, or take any other action relative thereto. Okay. Motion second. Discussion of Article 16. Ms. Byers.
Don Byers, 20 Russell Road. Question about the funding source being retained earnings, what the balance is in that, and then I have a follow-up question, moderator, if that would be allowed.
Okay. Do we have someone who can answer that question? Ms. Carter?
Okay, so the water sewer retained earnings was certified at $5,640,285. And after the articles that are in the warrant this evening that are to come from the water sewer, there would be a balance of the articles would total $995,900, leaving a balance of $4,644,385. Now, in addition to that, there is money that is going back to the water sewer retained earnings from the DPW project, and that's in the amount of $469,219.35. That will go back at the end of this fiscal year. So the total would be $5,113,604.35 remaining.
Thank you. I have a comment and follow-up question. In 2023, the water and sewer rates for homeowners was increased. And since 2023, the balance in that account has gone up $1 million every year, which is why it appears on the surface we have a significant balance of 5.6 million, which we could potentially afford to spend on $650,000 truck. A vehicle of this size and is not very common for a municipality of our size. I did some research, and the city of Haverhill and the city of Lowell have vehicles that are extensive like this. I want to confirm whether there's an intent to also rent out this vehicle, if anyone has that information. And also, if this was on any type of capital improvement plan or so forth, because I didn't see that on our 2020 capital improvement plan. It just seems like it's quite extensive, so if we can get some more information about the purpose of this, other than what's in the comments here, if it's going to be rented out.
Do we have somebody from DPW?
David Lemay, 23 Star Street, Water and Sewer Superintendent. The purpose of purchasing this, we could rent it. The rental fees are like $600 an hour or more. We have a project coming up with the Mass DEP that we have to dig up in the water service line materials to find out what they are. And in order to do this, we'd have to put it out as a project. And we got a cost of about $1.2 million to do. So looking into purchasing it for that amount of money, we'd already saved just on this project alone, about $600,000 to be able to do that. And then this particular vehicle would also be able to use within the sewer division, the highway division. The sewer division, we have 17 sewer stations that we have to get cleaned every year. We use the same type of, we rent or have another contractor come in for the same, to do that with about the same type of vehicle. So that'd save me almost $30,000 a year in that alone, just in 1 year, because the project should take about a year to do that.
Okay, so just to confirm, you said the Mass DEP said that there's a project upcoming in Whitman?
We're doing a project with Mass DEP currently. We have to do, some of you have received letters about your water service line. We have to identify all the materials for every single water service in the town of Whitman. Currently, we have 2,766 water services that are unknown. So we actually have to dig everything up to expose it to find out the materials.
Okay, I appreciate
It's
the
a
information.
requirement.
Right, so the information sounds like that this is actually a fiscally responsible purchase rather than renting
Yeah.
it for the amount of time for the repair. So thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Other discussion of Article 16. Ms. Hill.
Yes, this is, as Ms. Byers mentioned, a very big truck with the average, correct me if I'm wrong, average lifespan at about 5 to 10 years. It's not something that lasts that long when I looked it up, and you can correct me to that. So it's a big purchase. You're using it for lots of things. It needs a lot of maintenance. I think it's $40,000 a year for insurance just on this vehicle. So I guess I'm wondering, we're the third smallest town, I think the third smallest town in Massachusetts. And we will be owning a very large piece of equipment, and we're buying it with the water retained sewer, which is only allowed when we buy something completely with one source to actually be used on water and sewer services, nothing else. And I think we had talked about renting it out or doing those things. I guess I have a lot of questions on what are other towns doing if they don't have this equipment, and how are they able to make it cost efficient since we are so small, and what's happening within our town that might make us more eligible for it, opposed to, say, many of the other towns around us that don't need this. If you could help me understand that. And I mean, one thought I had was, is this helping us out with our pumping stations? Is that a reason we need this large piece of equipment, or is that a part of this reason? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so this will help, like you had mentioned, water and sewer. Going forward, this will be a more cost efficient and safer for people to go. When we go and clean sewer manholes, sometimes we got to set up tripods, 3 employees, the employee has to be lowered in the manhole. This would eliminate all that for safety too. So there's a lot more, as far as the other towns, I have talked to other superintendents and stuff, and some of them are looking, it's just a new way to do excavation. Yeah, it's in a safer way, especially the employees. If we have a water main break, some of these, to get down to it, we're using an aggressive way with the bucket. We could hit other utilities. Once we get so far, employees have to go in the hole. That's, now they're using shovels. This way, going forward, we can use that piece of equipment to do that. And now the employees are staying safe on the top without having to be in the hole. But we have looked into, I did do some more research, and it is a high maintenance vehicle. But I think in the long term, it'll be more efficient and more cost effective for us.
Mr. Evans?
Justin Evans, 57 Candewick Lane. And for this, I guess I'll speak as, during the day, I serve as the Assistant Director for Pipeline Safety for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I strongly support this purchase. I've seen, part of my responsibility is overseeing enforcement of the dig safe laws. And as some of the companies who have violated those, generally hitting gas lines, come before our department, we recommend they look at purchases like this because it's a lot safer to dig around unknown old infrastructure underground. So this is a non-mechanical means of digging within a close contained area. So,
other discussion of 16. Yes, ma'am.
Christy Zamani, Toomey, 117 Washington Terrace. Is the large project that you're speaking of related to the letters we received that there could potentially be lead in the water source and that other contaminants?
It does have to do with that because we have to, as I explained, we have to dig up to identify that service for the type of material that it's made of, but it is related to that letter.
So this would help us identify that.
It'll move the project along a lot faster because we could have this done within a year.
Thank you.
Other discussion of 16. All right, all in favor of Article 16, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 16 is adopted. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $45,000 from water sewer retained earnings to have a permanent generator installed at a sewer station or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion, a second. Discussion of 17. All right, all in favor of Article 17, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 17 is adopted unanimously. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $225,000 from water sewer retained earnings to purchase and install new permanent generators at our Auburn Street and Commercial Street sewer stations or take any other action relative thereto. Motion second. Discussion of 18. All right, all in favor of Article 18, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 18 is adopted unanimously. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $49,900 from water sewer retained earnings to upgrade the current control panels for 5 of the town's sewer stations that are currently not working properly or take any other action relative thereto. Discussion of 19. All in favor of 19, say yes. Opposed, no. 19 is adopted unanimously. Article 20, to see if the town will appropriate and transfer the sum of $15,000 from free cash for the purchase, installation, and configuration of 2 replacement servers to support the town's access control system, including any associated hardware, software, and licensing costs, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion is second. Discussion of Article 20. All right, all in favor of 20, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 20 is adopted unanimously. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $6,084 from free cash to purchase and install a new 75-inch touchscreen interactive display with integrated web camera, microphone array, and built-in computing capabilities to support presentations, training, and video conferencing, replacing an outdated smartboard and ceiling-mounted projecting system, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion, a second. 21. Discussion of 21. All right, all in favor of Article 21, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 21 is adopted unanimously. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $21,000 from free cash to purchase and install the Mitsubishi Electric High Efficiency Hyperheat Ductless Mini Heat Pump System for the fire department dispatch room and entry area, or take any other action relative thereto. A motion, a second. Discussion of Article 22. All in favor of 22, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 22 is adopted unanimously. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $114,995 from free cash to pay Whitman's share of the cost of replacement of the paving at the high school staff parking lot only, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion a second. We have a motion. We have a motion to pass over.
Motion to amend?
Motion to pass over goes first, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we have One sec. So I recognize Justin when I should have recognized you because you were there first. So make your motion, please. Make your comment.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to amend Article 23 to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $114,995 from free cash to pay for Whitman's share of the cost of the replacement of the paving at the high school staff parking lot only, or to take any other action relative thereto, to read, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $114,995 from capital stabilization to pay for Whitman's share of the cost of the replacement of the paving at the high school staff parking lot only, or to take any other action relative thereto. And first of all, thank you for supporting the non-mandated busing. The reason for this, the reason that this must be taken care of, as a member of the Capital and Operations Subcommittee, I can tell you it's a $900,000 project we would like to have done. We don't have the funds to make a deposit on it, so we have to chip away at it a little at a time. If the other gift money, solar money, whatever comes in, we have many other places that we need to use it. So please support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, then we have a motion then to amend Article 23 to change the funding source from free cash to capital stabilization. Second, discussion of the amendment. Mr. Evans.
Appreciate you giving her the amendment first. So I was going to motion to pass over this. The reason I don't think that we should approve this amendment is because even if this town meeting votes to appropriate this money from capital stabilization, it is going to sit in an account in this building until Hanson does the same. They're not going to have a town meeting until at least the fall. So it is not urgent that we do this right now. I will say that I did vote to support this as a member of the Capital Committee and as a member of the Select Board to put it on the warrant, because when I attend school committee meetings, I usually park in that parking lot and it's a disaster. But why vote to tie up this money now when we're already pulling so much from free cash?
All right, other discussion of the amendment. All right, well, did you want to say, Ms. Carter?
The amendment, if it's used with capital funds, it still has to be for what it was originally for, which was to pave the upper parking lot for the staff. So it's not like it could be used for another reason.
Okay. Ms. Hill?
A while back, and maybe the Finance Committee can help, we had a stabilization account for the towns that we merged with the, and maybe Mary Beth can help, we merged that with the towns for the schools that we merged with recreation, I believe. Is there anything in that account? And that account has been completely zeroed out? That was a stabilization that was meant for the schools, and then they merged it. It was before you became town administrator. It is now merged currently. We voted to merge it with recreation funds, which but it was merged with another fund. Do you remember what it was? If we could just. They're used up and zero out. Thank you. That's all I want.
All right. Yep.
John Goldrosen, 238 South Ave. Just a point of clarification, if this comes from capital stabilization, does it need a 2/3 vote?
It would need a 2/3 vote. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Rick Anderson, 237 Stetson Street. Just a question to the Finance Committee. Unusual for the Finance Committee to make a recommendation on an article warrant to pass over. So could I just get a clarification if that is that they are not in support of this article?
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Anderson, Mike Warner, 15 Old Colony Way. The reason the Finance Committee passed this over was that there is discussion about having this done by a third party at this point. We didn't see that right now this needed to be done, so what Justin said was also a weighing factor for us. It's not necessary until this fall, so no reason for us to tie up the money at this time.
Other discussion of 23 and the amendment? All right, then, all in favor of amending Article 23, say yes. Opposed, no? The amendment is defeated. Mr. Evans, motion to pass over. All in favor of passing over Article 23, say yes. Opposed, no? Article 23, it fails unanimously. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer $30,000 from free cash to fund a 5-year capital improvement plan from a qualified outside agency or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion to pass over. Second. All in favor of passing over Article 24, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 24 is passed over. Article 25, prudent investment rule. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 54B1, to allow the town trust funds to be invested in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 203C, the so-called prudent investor rule, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion. We have a second. Discussion of Article 25. All right, all in favor of 25, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 25 is adopted unanimously. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to increase the maximum qualifying gross receipts that seniors may have in the prior calendar year to be eligible to defer property taxes under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41A, from $30,000 to $50,000, with such increase to be effective for deferrals granted for taxes assessed for any fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2026 and thereafter, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion and a second. Discussion of 26. All right, all in favor of 26, say yes. Opposed, no. 26 is adopted unanimously. Article 27, community preservation. To see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from fiscal year 2027 Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal year 2027, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Appropriations from FY 2027 estimated revenues for committee administrative expenses, $10,000. Reserves from FY 2027 estimated revenues for Historic Resource Reserve, $32,000. From FY 2027 estimated revenues for Community Housing Reserve, $32,000. From FY 2027 estimated revenue for Open Space Reserve, $32,000. Or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion, we have a second. Discussion of Article 27? Right, all in favor of 27, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 27 is adopted unanimously. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Community Preservation Historic Resource Reserve the balance, a sum of $4,000 to fund plaques for surveyed historic sites in Whitman, or take any other action relative thereto. A motion, second. Discussion of 28? Right, all in favor of 28, say yes. Opposed, no. 28 is adopted unanimously. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to amend the general bylaws of the town of Whitman, residency requirements, sections 7 through 9, to read, the provisions of this bylaw shall not apply to ex officio members, town employees, or non-voting members. Any non-resident member of a board, commission, or committee holding such a membership at the time this bylaw becomes effective shall be exempt until the expiration of the member's current term. We have motion, we have second. All right. Discussion of 29. All right, all in favor of 29, say yes. Opposed, no. 29 is adopted unanimously. Article 30. We have a motion to waive the reading. All in favor of waiving the reading, say yes. Opposed, no. All right, the meeting is waived. Maybe somebody can explain to us, to give us the upshot on what Article 30 is all about. We did. Okay. Mr. Goldrosen.
Yeah. John Goldrosen, 238 South Avenue, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. A year ago at town meeting, we approved an accessory dwelling unit bylaw, which was to regulate what's called ADUs to the extent that the state would allow us to regulate it. The ADUs were mandated by the state. As you may know, all zoning bylaws and general bylaws are subject to review by the Attorney General for any inconsistency with state law. And when the Attorney General's office reviewed our bylaw, they struck out certain provisions of it. So the purpose of this article is to amend our ADU bylaw to conform to what the Attorney General was willing to allow. The Attorney General allowed most of it to go into effect, but struck out certain provisions. And by amending it, we get it on paper and avoids confusion for any applicants as well as the Board of Appeals.
All right, other discussion of Article 30? Yes, ma'am.
Cavallo, 900 Washington Street. Does this have to go back to the Attorney General after we amend it this evening?
Yes, this article would then go back to the Attorney General, but, I have every reason to expect that they'd approve it based on, they gave us a detailed list of comments, and this is what we're following.
All right, other discussion of Article 30? All right, this does require a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 30, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 30 is passed unanimously. Okay, Article 31, Board of Appeals Amendment. To see if the town will vote to amend Section 240-12.7 Board of Appeals of the Protective Zoning Bylaw of the Town of Whitman, Massachusetts, by deleting the last sentence in subsection E2 and replacing it with a new sentence as follows, or take any other action relative thereto. Current text. If rights authorized by a special permit are not exercised within 1 year of the date of grant of such special permit, they shall lapse and may be reestablished only after notice and new public hearing. New text. A special permit granted under this section shall lapse after 3 years from the grant thereof if a substantial use thereof has not begun by such date except for good cause, or in the case of a permit for construction, if construction has not begun by such date except for good cause as determined by the Board of Appeals. We have a motion, second, discussion of 31. Mr. Goldrosen?
John Goldrosen. We have proposed this article because currently, under the town zoning bylaw, there's only a 1-year period to exercise a special permit, or else the applicant has to come back and reapply, have a new public notice to abutters, ad in the newspaper, and so forth. And that 1-year period is based on what the state zoning act allowed 50 years ago when the town provision went into effect. The state has since amended the state zoning act to allow towns to have a period of up to 3 years. That's what we're proposing now. Our experience is with the extra time it takes nowadays for permitting, for financing, and so forth, there are times when applicants have to come back to us and go through the hearing process all over again just because their project got delayed, and this will avoid that situation.
All right, other discussion of 32. I'm sorry, of 31. All right, all in favor of Article 31, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 31 is adopted unanimously. Article 32. Motion, we have a motion to waive the reading. All in favor of waiving the reading, say yes. Opposed, no. Okay, we're going to waive the reading of Article 32. Perhaps someone could explain to us what 32 is all about.
I'm going to keep it dirty.
Mr. DeRozier.
Good evening, Jason DeRozier, 51 Joyce Ave. I'm also the senior planner for housing with the Old Colony Planning Council, which Whitman is part of our region. Multifamily housing is already allowed by right in Whitman through the MBTA zoning district that was passed in 2024. What 40R is, it allows additional flexibility and frameworks for the town and developers to propose multifamily housing. So MBTA communities does not allow for mixed use or does not establish design standards or design guidelines, which 40R does. It's pretty extensive. I'm not going to read the whole bylaw that's in there. And there's also financial incentives for towns that have 40R. So there is a zoning incentive payment a one-time payment that's given to towns for adopting a 40R district. Very conservatively, that could be between somewhere 75,000 to 250,000, depending on the number of units. And then there's a bonus density payment that provides $3,000 for every building permit that's pulled, and so that could be an additional $300,000 to $500,000 to the town of Whitman for the development of those units.
All right, other discussion of 32? Mr. Rotina.
Marshall Tatum, 100 Lazel. Is there anything in this that would take us out of compliance with the Communities Act?
No.
Cool.
Other discussion of 32? Mr. Evans.
Justin Evans, Select Board. This is largely overlaid over the existing MBTA Communities District. I think we've added a stretch of Franklin Street and taken away a piece of Essex Street, but it's mostly the same footprint. This is closer to the overlay district we would have designed had the state not forced our hand on MBTA communities.
All right, other discussion of 32? Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification, that parcel on Franklin Street, the developer was interested in proposing a 40B. He's waiting until this passes or not to go through with that. If that ends up being proposed under a 40R district, the town would get those financial incentives for the project that they wouldn't get under 40B.
All right, other discussion of 32? All right, all in favor of Article 32, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 32 is adopted unanimously. Article 33. With a motion to waive the reading, all in favor of waiving the reading of Article 33? Say yes. Opposed, no. All right, we'll waive the reading of Article 33. Okay, yes. Okay, so we have some amendments. Could you please identify yourself?
Hi, I'm Sandy Cortez. I'm the chair of the Whitman Conservation Commission. This is an amendment to the bylaws that we proposed that is in the article, or warrant, whatever you want to call it. We've made changes. Jeez. So under 250-7-2 site plans, we're removing the wording 25-foot and 25-100. Well, we're not leaving, just the 225s is what we're eliminating. And then also after buffer zone is instead of R. Then further down on that page, under 250-7-6, minor activities within a resource area, we are eliminating the 25 in that first paragraph. And then the third bullet point, we are removing fencing that does not bar wildlife movement, stone walls, or stones. And then under 257-7, use of restrictions, sorry, my copy's corrected. Anyway, that whole section is deleted. And that's it. Basically,
So you're proposing an amendment?
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, and under, I'm sorry, 257-1 buffer zone, we're removing the 25 in the first sentence. Then we are removing the 25, and then from the portion of the 25 foot all the way to the end of that paragraph, we're deleting. And then the next paragraph where it says, in reviewing activities within, it will just be the 100-foot buffer zone.
Okay, so we then, is that it?
That's
Okay,
it.
Okay, so we have this motion then to amend this article. We have a second discussion of the amendment. Sir.
Ed Winnett, 308 Randall Ave, Conservation Commission. Just wanted to explain why the amendment. So when we proposed these bylaws, when we put them together, we held two public information sessions. One here in the town hall in the evening, and a second one at the police station on a Saturday afternoon. Unfortunately, 3 people showed up. So there wasn't a lot of feedback. And last week, we received a lot of feedback regarding the 0 to 25 no disturbance zone and 75 to 100 limited disturbance zone. So we decided that in best interest of the town, we have no bylaws, which surprises everyone, surprised me. We have no bylaws regarding wetlands. So we decided as a board to delete that wording and anything associated with it so that we could get the rest of the bylaws passed. So we have something, it's a working structure for our commission. Right now, we don't have a working structure. We have no standards other than the state Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. But we really need to be able to interpret it and apply it. And this is why we're asking for approval and adoption of these bylaws tonight as amended.
Other discussion of the amendment. Mr. Evans.
Justin Evans, 57 Candlewick Lane, Select Board. First, I support this amendment. I also got a lot of feedback when the warrant was posted publicly last week. I had several concerns that were raised to me then, and I believe this amendment covers all of them. I do, in fairness, plan to make a motion to pass over after this amendment passes because I'm not 100% convinced everything's solved, and I'd like more time with it, but I believe the amendment is better than the article is printed, so I'd support amending.
All right, discussion of the amendment. All right, then, all in favor of amending Article 33? I'm sorry. Oh, sir, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Steve Egan, 6 Pasture Lane. First off, I want to say that the Conservation Commission, I work with them all the time, and they do a great job. And they've had a lot of new people come on board. I realize they're trying to get better framework going. But some of the stuff in here was very restricting. And I'm still a little confused on what we're actually taking out. A lot of towns south of us, more suburban, rural, they do some no-touch areas. This was trying to implement like a 25-foot no-touch. So basically, anybody in this town, which is a lot of area in the town, people on Auburn Street and Holman Drive and Franklin Street, people who have woods in their backyard, you'd have a 25-foot area that you can't touch anymore, that you would go in front of the board if you wanted to do something and get approval, get an order of conditions. They would tell you how to protect protect the wetland area while you're doing what you want to do, whether it's a pool or a fence in your backyard. These things went on and started to restrict. You couldn't have any buildings, you couldn't have any fence, you couldn't have a pool, you couldn't have your trash receptacles, you couldn't have outdoor lights, all within 100 feet. And for a town like Whitman that our allowed zoning, it has areas that we can build on 10,000 square feet of land, 100 feet is a whole lot. So they become very restrictive, and right now what ends up happening is if you're trying to do something, you still have to go in front of the Conservation Commission. Anytime you're working with 100 feet, and that comes under the Wetlands Act, and DEP gets involved, and they get to review it and come up with some stipulations on how to protect the wetlands and make sure that nothing's damaged. They get to inspect it, and it works out. And I think it should stay that way. I don't think we should be changing the game plan for people in town here, because this would affect a lot of people. And if you start saying you can't do all these things. I think it should be left the other way around, is that you can, but if you're going to be within 100 feet, you need to go in front of the Conservation Commission. So I guess my first question is, when we talked earlier, I was one of the ones that was questioning this.
Most of that has been, sorry, Brian Lapierre, Conservation Commission, 73 Joyce Terrace. The questions you've already had from the no disturbance zone, the 25 to 100, that was removed about 5 minutes ago.
Well, but it was confusing the way it was read, so it's like,
Okay, we could have clarified it, but that was removed, the buffer zone restriction.
Well, it sounded like you were removing the 25 foot, but it was still going to say.
But the restriction sections was removed.
Sandy Cortez, the chair of the Whitman Conservation Commission, those parts were removed. Yep, I'm. Hold on. Each one of those tabs.
Yeah, I just want to, I don't know, I just don't want, it's not just mine, I'm just giving my opinion on it, but that's all there.
Mr. Regan?
Again, I have nothing but good things. I know these guys are trying to, for a long, I dealt with the Conservation Commission for a long time, and George Porter, Elaine Malisi, decades on there, along with Sandy, who's at least a decade, I'm probably even more, 2 decades now. So you had the same people there that were really the mainstay, and they did a fantastic job. And George is gone, Elaine's gone, and Sandy now has these new guys who are doing a fantastic job going around town and aggressively going out and checking things. And they have a couple more new members, and they're trying to get a better framework. I 100% agree with that. I just don't want to see us approving something that's all of a sudden taking landowners' rights away. I think you need to have a balance between protecting the wetlands and not taking away current rights that people have as far as using their upland, their usable part of the yard. And that was some of my concerns. It seems like some of it's taken out. It's hard for me to say, read the whole thing, but it seems like my main concerns have been taken out of it. I believe that's what I do.
Other discussion of the amendment? Sir? Yeah, if you could just go to the nearest mic.
Hi, on the opposite side.
Could you just identify yourself, please?
Steve Maluski, 35 Elm Place. On the opposite side of Lake Hobart down over there, where TK is probably about maybe 200 feet where all the trees are dead or dying. TK, I don't know what's going on over there, but something is wiping out those trees, because I used to walk up there, up and down that path along the pond, and if you take a look at it, it's pretty bad. A lot of trees are dying and dead. I just wanted to,
We haven't been notified about that, but
We're discussing the amendment.
yes, we haven't been notified of that. My phone number is on the website, and my email, I have a town email. Call me, we will come out and look at it.
you've been notified about it?
No, I have not been notified. We have not been notified of
Have you
that.
seen about this?
But that's not what
We're
this
we're
is.
discussing the amendment to this bylaw right now. That's the motion that's on the floor right now.
I saw it, they were environmental, so that's why I had something to say.
Mr. Moderator?
Other discussion of the amendment?
Yes, up here, up in the balcony.
Oh,
Hi.
okay, yeah, sorry.
I'm Margaret Schnabel, 44 Priscilla Road, Whitman. And I live on a road that goes up off of Harding Pond, as do some of the other people that are here. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Egan about the property owner's rights. Right now, we have conservation land on either side of our street going down to Harding Pond. And you will notice if you drive High Street that there are two signs that have falsely indicated that it is commercially allowed property. It is taking away the rights of the people who live in that neighborhood. By all rights, our street should be a vernal pool. I know that I have done the research on the vernal pool and would like to see that. Right now, if you look at off of High Street, the big signs that go on from the family wants to sell that property, it comes right down into the conservation land and it encroaches on that land. It will change a lot of orchards and it will change the blueberries that are picked on a regular basis. We have everything down to spotted salamander in our neighborhood, and they are discussing this. And if you go online with that real estate company, you can see that they have proposed plans for that area, and the whole neighborhood is very upset. It would take away from not my property, but across the street from me. I disagree. I think you're 100% right, and I congratulate you for doing the work. It is so necessary in this town. Thank you.
All right, other discussion of the amendment? All right, there being none. All in favor of amending Article 33, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 33 is amended. Discussion of the amended article. Mr. Evans.
Motion to pass over.
We have a motion to pass over. We have a second? Second? Okay, all in favor of passing over Article 33, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 33 is passed over. Article 34, pilot agreements for renewable energy facilities. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to, one, enter into one or more agreements for payments in lieu of taxes or pilot pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 45th, or any other enabling authority with the owners of renewable energy facilities located within the boundaries of the town for terms of up to 30 years from the date such facilities begin commercial operation, and two, take any actions and execute any other documents or ancillary agreements to accomplish the foregoing and to implement and administer the pilot program, all of which agreements and documents shall be on such terms and conditions and for such consideration as the select board deems in the best interest of the town or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion. We have a second. Discussion of 34. Mr. Evans.
All right. So I propose, Justin Evans, Select Board. I propose this article. Currently, Assistant Town Administrator Kathy Keefe and I are working together to see if it's possible to site solar panels on the roof of the new DPW building, as well as the capped landfill sitting behind it. The way that a municipality enters solar agreements, we can either buy it outright, which I don't think that we have the funds to do right now. We can enter a power purchase agreement with a solar company where we buy the electricity from them on a long-term arrangement, or we could lease the land out to a renewable energy company and receive lease payments and potentially a pilot agreement. This opens up that third option for us, which may be the most lucrative financially.
All right. Discussion of Article 34. All right. All in favor of 34, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 34 is adopted unanimously. Article 35, Pine Tree Lane. To see if the town will vote to accept Pine Tree Lane as a public way as constructed to meet planning board and DPW requirements and as shown on a plan on file with the town administrator entitled Pine Tree Estates, prepared by Silva Engineering Associates, PC, which plan is dated December 15, 2019, and endorsed, i.e. stamped on January 27, 2025, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion. We have a second. Discussion of Article 35. All right. All in favor of 35, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 35 is adopted unanimously. Article 36, vote to expand South Shore Regional Vocational School District. To see if the town will vote to approve the amended South Shore Regional Vocational School District regional agreement, which is on file in the town clerk's office, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of 36. Mr. Rotino.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel. Does this also create a financial stake for them for the new building that's being proposed?
Ms. Carter? Okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Will they also be responsible for some of the capital costs of the new proposed
Yes.
social center? Okay.
Yes.
Other discussion of Article 36. All right, all in favor of 36, say yes. Opposed, no. Article 36 is adopted unanimously. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I just want to thank our tellers who were pressed into service tonight unexpectedly. We're going to have to revisit this electronic voting business again. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you for attending town meeting.